Chapter 829. How is it? This energy seems to be like a seal. In here, our cultivations will only be suppressed bit by bit. What should we do? At that moment, Hong Lian spoke first. Although she wasn't proficient in the power of seals, she wouldn't forget this feeling because she had been sealed for a period of time in the immortal world. She would never forget this feeling. Sealing power? Bai Qi frowned when he heard Hong Lian's words. He began to ponder. There was nothing he could do about sealing power. After all, he was not proficient in sealing formations and the like. He was only good at killing, hee. There was nothing else he was good at. Hey, what's wrong with you? Why are you all so hesitant? You don't look like men at all. In my opinion, why don't we just charge in? Let's see if it's a mule or a horse. Dian Wei couldn't help but speak up when he saw how hesitant Bai Qi and Hong Lian were. Then, he activated his cultivation base at the Great Perfection Ultimate God Realm, but something strange happened. Boom! A terrifying purple light appeared the moment Dian Wei activated his cultivation base at the Great Perfection Ultimate God Realm. However, what happened next was even more shocking. The purple light turned into purple chains that looked like fingers the moment it enshrouded Dian Wei, locking him tightly. The ends of the purple chains went deep into the ground and fixed him on the top of the mountain. His cultivation base at the Great Perfection Ultimate God Realm also disappeared quietly. Even Bai Qi was shocked when he saw this scene. How could Bai Qi and the others be shocked by the fact that a peak ultimate god could not save them? Moreover, they could not sense anything at all. Although the sealing power was strong, he had never seen such a powerful sealing power. The energy made him feel suffocated and frightened, and no one dared to act rashly. At this moment, everyone was quiet. Even Dian Wei, who had been yelling at the beginning, quieted down. He didn't look as excited as before when he wanted to rush up and fight. Instead, he remained silent. What's going on? Why is the energy here so strong? Looking at the purple energy, Bai Qi could sense that this was the same aura that he had sensed back at Jianghu Sect. Well, it seems that we can only wait for the young master to come. There was no chance to attack Dian Wei, because everybody knew that Dian Wei was a man who only knew how to charge. Looking at Bai Qi, Red Lotus' expression was serious as she slowly said, "This is not something that we can deal with. Also, based on what happened just now, I'm certain that you can't use your cultivation here, or else." As he spoke, he pointed at Dian Wei who had been tied up. Could it be, as an intelligent person, Bai Qi immediately understood what Red Lotus meant. Furthermore, he had also noticed it earlier. That's right. Seeing that Bai Qi understood what she meant, Hong Lian smiled and said, "That's right. As long as you use your cultivation to its limit, I can guarantee that you will be the next one to be suppressed." Hiss. Hearing this, the surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with shock. Instantly, upon hearing that, everybody withdrew their cultivation that they had released. At the same time, the previous pressure was gone, and everybody regained their freedom. However, even so, it was impossible for Dian Wei to escape. After all, he had touched the taboo here. Alas. Suddenly, Keegan heaved a sigh and looked at Dian Wei. "In that case, you can just stay here. I was going to investigate this place, but now that I know what's going on, there's no need for me to waste my time here with you." "Yes," Ming Ming said. "Although we're brothers, it's silly to stand here, so we've unanimously decided to wait for you and the young master. Maybe you'll be saved when the young master comes." Hearing that, Dian Wei was speechless and smiled bitterly. However, what else could he do? He could only face reality. "Fine. Then hurry up and send a distress signal to the young master. I don't want to stand here forever." Then, Dian Wei sensibly shut his mouth and stopped talking. Whoosh! In the square of the Jianghu Sect, which was covered in blood and corpses, a blue light suddenly flashed. Then, an enormous array appeared out of nowhere. In the end, the array map enlarged and didn't stop until it covered the entire square. Whoosh! In the blue light, a blurry shadow suddenly appeared in the center of the square with his hands behind his back. His face was full of expectation, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. Alas! I'm still here in the end. At this moment, a voice was heard from the array. The moment the voice was heard, the blue light disappeared, and the shadow's true face was finally exposed under the sunlight. Standing on the square was a young man. He had a handsome face, but his eyebrows were like swords, and his eyes were like stars. His gaze was very deep, and vaguely, there was a murderous aura in his eyes. He gave people a feeling that he was close, but also cold and distant. He lifted his head and looked at the scene around him. Suddenly, he frowned and looked displeased. These guys are too destructive. Besides, they have forgotten what I told them. After killing them, you have to destroy their corpses. Otherwise, they won't be able to avoid future troubles. Boom! Then, a blood-red flame appeared in his palm. He raised his hand and blasted it at a corpse not far away. You, bastard! Suddenly, a transparent figure dashed out from the corpse that the young man was observing. The shattered body soared into the sky and looked down at the young man with a murderous expression. Bastard, do you want to die? How dare you destroy my soul? This was the soul of a cultivator from the Jianghu sect. Ha, soul. Looking at the floating soul, the young man sneered. I'm the sect leader of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Rei. Tell me, do you think you can keep me alive? Oh, by the way, did you want me to die just now? Lin Rei asked indifferently. What? Sect. Sect leader of the Xuanzong sect? You. Whoosh. Hearing Lin Rei's words, the soul was shocked. Without another word, he turned around and tried to leave this place. Just the disciples of the Xuanzong sect alone could destroy the Jianghu sect. Wouldn't the sect leader be even stronger? Thinking of this, he no longer had the guts to talk back to Lin Rei. In his heart, the only way was to stay alive. The young man standing in the middle of the square was none other than Lin Rei, who bought a transportation device from the Xuanzong sect. Seeing the soul trying to escape, a cold smile appeared on his face. Raising his hand, he gathered the illusory spirit blood fire and blasted it in the direction the soul was escaping. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. A blood-red flame, with a fleeting speed, rushed in the direction of the divine soul's escape. No, I have to leave as soon as possible. Where there's life, there's hope. Escaping is more important. The soul thought to himself as he burned his soul to escape the Jianghu sect. Whoosh! However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, another sound broke through the air. Confused, the soul turned around to look. F***ck, what the hell? Seeing the blood-red thing rushing towards him, the soul cursed and sped up. The moment he saw the blood-red energy, his soul started to tremble. It wasn't because of excitement. Instead, it was because of fear. It was fear that came from the depths of his soul. Since that was the case, how could he still be in the mood? He increased the speed of his soul burning and increased his speed again. However, he didn't expect that while his speed increased, the blood-red energy increased as well. Boom! In the end, one ran while the other chased. In the end, the soul couldn't escape from the blood-red energy and was tainted by it. Boom! Suddenly, a blood-red flame appeared on the divine soul, enveloping it and burning it. Ah! I can't accept this, an angry roar came out from the soul's mouth. At first, his voice was strong and resonant. However, as his voice got softer and softer, it disappeared completely. The moment the soul's voice disappeared, the blood-red flame disappeared as well. Ding! Killed a reverent god early-stage soul. Reward, 100,000 exchange points, 3 million experience points. Air. Hearing the system notification, Lin Rei was stunned. However, he quickly threw it to the back of his mind. He had something important to do now. It was about Bai Qi. Stretching out his consciousness, Lin Fan enveloped the entire Jianghu sect within it. He was afraid that the same thing would happen again, and that there might be some fish that slipped through the net. If that were the case, after he left, there would definitely be a threat to the Xian sect. But Linley would not permit this threat to exist. He would not allow it to happen. Luckily, it only happened once. After scanning the entire Qingquan sect, he didn't find any other soul. Lin Rei nodded his head in satisfaction. Forget it. I'll meet up with Bai Qi first. After saying that, he retracted his divine sense and rushed towards the direction where Bai Qi's aura came from. As Lin Rei left, he threw out a blood fire and it landed on the corpses of the Qingquan sect disciples. As for him, he had already disappeared into the horizon and was rushing towards where Bai Qi and the others were. As for the Qingquan sect, not long after he had left, a raging fire was ignited. However, the color of the fire was blood red. What's going on? In the direction of the Cosmos sect. At this moment, at the peak of the mountain where Bai Qi was staying, Bai Qi and the others who were resting with their eyes closed suddenly felt a strange feeling. They immediately turned their heads and looked in the direction of the Cosmos sect. At this moment, the Cosmos sect was on fire. Young Master, it's Young Master's blood fire. Young Master is here. A cry of surprise came from Hong Lian's mouth. Suddenly, everyone was stunned. Their faces were filled with disbelief. That's impossible. Young Master is in the sect. Even if he used a voice transmission jade slip, he shouldn't have received it yet. Everyone didn't believe Hong Lian's words. Others might not know, but they knew very well that it would take them half a month to travel from the Xuanzong sect to here. Of course, that was if they were peak ultimate gods. To ordinary people, that was a long journey. It would take at least a few months. For those with a lower cultivation level, it might even take a year. However, just as everyone was certain that it wasn't Lin Rei, a familiar voice rang out. Are you so sure that it isn't me? Of course. How could Young Master, Young Master. Kuei Gang, who hadn't reacted in time, blurted out in disbelief. However, halfway through his sentence, he stopped abruptly because he was very familiar with that voice. If it wasn't Lin Rei's voice, he wouldn't have believed that it was Lin Rei who had arrived so quickly. Young Master. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man standing at the edge of the cliff, looking at them with a smile. Looking at this young man, everyone was stunned. Their faces were filled with shock. Wasn't this their young master, Linley? At the same time, they were filled with questions. They didn't understand why Lin Rei had arrived so quickly. You guys really don't make me feel at ease at all. I originally wanted to rest for a few days, but you guys ruined it for me. Hearing those words, Bai Qi lowered his head, filled with guilt. Where's Jian Wei? Where did he go? Looking at the guilty faces of Bai Qi and the others, Lin Rei was taken aback. Then, he quickly changed the topic to attract their attention. As expected, Bai Qi was taken aback when he heard that. Then, he quickly said, Young Master, he's over there. However, there seems to be some sealing power over there. The power is limited. When one's cultivation reaches a certain level, it will be suppressed and shackled by purple chains, making one unable to move. Huh? Purple chains? Lin Rei's curiosity was piqued. Where is it? Take me to it. Okay. Bai Qi nodded and led the way for Lin Rei. They followed closely. They weren't far from where Jian Wei was, so they arrived quickly. The moment Lin Rei saw Jian Wei's current appearance, he was stunned on the spot. F***ck, this formation, is a little interesting. For Lin Rei, a peak venerable level array master, he knew that it was a sealing array the moment he saw Jian Wei's appearance. System, check this place and see what exactly is here. Why would it use such a powerful sealing formation? Okay, got it. The system responded, and then a prompt sounded in Lin Rei's mind. Ding. Beginning detection. Please wait a moment. Lin Rei chose to remain silent. The others didn't say anything, and it wasn't appropriate for them to do so. They just waited for Lin Rei's next instruction. Ding. Beginning detection. Do you want to check? Yes. Yes. Ding. Sky ceiling purple cloud array, peak of the middle saint level. Purple mountain range as the foundation. Earth veins as the supplement. Chapter 830. Ceiling spell formation, then, doesn't that mean? Hearing this, Linley seemed to have thought of something, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. That's right. Knowing what Lin Rei thought of, the system chuckled and said, there's a special item sealed here. Of course, it's good for you, but it's great for others. Besides, if you can refine it, then, that person might be able to advance to the saint stage and become a saint. Hiss. Hearing this, Linley couldn't help but suck in a cold breath, and a look of shock appeared on his face. However, at the same time, although there was joy on his face, there was also a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Can't I use it? He mumbled to himself. However, he recovered quickly. After all, he knew his own situation, so he didn't dwell on it for too long. Yes, this item has the imprint of the Great Tao and has fused with that item. If you want to refine it by force, then, alright, you don't have to say any more. I understand. He knew what the system wanted to say. Besides, he also knew how important it was, so, sigh. The system let out a long sigh, then shut its mouth and didn't say anything else. However, at this moment, Linley didn't dwell on this matter. Instead, Linley began to consider who he should give this item to. It was as if he had already obtained it. No, how can I let my son be controlled by the Great Tao? No. He shook his head. Jiang? No, TSK. He has already become the successor of the Pai Shio. If I do that, it seems like I'm letting the Pai Shio down. Then who can it be? His idea was to leave the item in the sect. Whoever could get it to acknowledge him as its master would refine it into the holy world. Anyway, no matter who entered the holy world, it would be beneficial for him and the Qingquan sect. Yes, that's right. After making the decision, Lin Rei came back to himself and fixed his eyes on Dian Wei, who was inside the array. Looking at him, Lin Rei chuckled and raised his hand. A suction force instantly appeared. He aimed at Dian Wei. Suddenly, an intense pulling force appeared on Dian Wei's body. At this moment, Dian Wei, who had nothing to do because his cultivation was sealed, was resting with his eyes closed. However, a pulling force suddenly appeared. Dian Wei opened his eyes abruptly and turned around in confusion. Young master. Her voice trembled with joy, but at the same time, it was filled with doubt. He was happy because he saw Lin Rei and knew that he could be saved. However, he was puzzled because he had just been waiting for his cultivation by the array formation. How did Lin Rei appear so quickly? Linley didn't explain what Dian Wei was thinking, but his eyebrows were tightly furrowed at this moment, and his face suddenly became solemn. It seems that Xiao Lan's item is really something. I didn't expect it to be so difficult to deal with. Looking at the purple chain, Lin Rei was shocked. Then, his unyielding aura soared to the sky, and the suction force increased again. Then, he activated the devouring heaven's end. The suction force increased, and a tremendous devouring power appeared. The devouring heaven's end could devour everything in the world. There was nothing that the devouring heaven's end could not devour. Bit by bit, the devouring heaven's end was fully exerted. The purple chain that locked Dian Wei up began to loosen and tremble as if it had sensed the aura of the devouring heaven's end. It began to shrink. Something is happening. The chain is loosening. Dian Wei, who had been observing the chain the whole time, was filled with excitement. Because at this moment, he discovered that the chain that was originally tightly binding him had actually loosened at this moment. Moreover, it even showed signs of falling off. However, there was also a hint of trembling and fear behind the signs. Dian Wei was quite shocked about that. However, for Lin Rei, it wasn't troublesome at all. Instead, it was a very comfortable process. It was because the power of the array and the chain was surging into his body incessantly. Although the energy wasn't particularly powerful, Lin Rei was already satisfied with it. After all, it was better than nothing, even though he knew that it wouldn't help him make a breakthrough at all. Bit by bit, bit by bit. While he was devouring, Lin Li's spiritual energy constantly surged into the depths of the ground. He wanted to investigate the core of this formation, he wanted to investigate the mysteries of this formation, he wanted to obtain the things sealed by this formation. At the same time, a suspicious thought occurred to him, which was none other than the existence of the array. Lin Rei didn't believe that the Cosmic Sect didn't know about such an array, and he didn't believe that the people of the Cosmic Sect could have held themselves back from attacking. Therefore, he couldn't help but wonder why the thing was here, and who sealed it. Lin Rei was puzzled by the series of questions. He couldn't figure it out at all. However, Bai Qi and the others didn't say anything or disturb Lin Rei while he was touching the chain on Dian Wei, because they all knew that external disturbances were the most dreadful at such a moment. Gotcha, however, soon after that, a strange sound was heard. Everybody was stunned and then raised their heads to look at the source of the sound. What they saw was a purple chain that had already been broken. It was none other than the chain that had been chained to Dian Wei's body. Everybody was delighted to see that, and their worries were greatly relieved. Phew! It's finally working. Seeing that the chain was broken, Lin Rei smiled and wiped the sweat on his forehead. If it didn't work, I would have had to resort to violence. But it's fine now. Seeing that the chain was broken, Lin Rei worked even harder. Although the process was boring, Lin Rei endured it in order to save Dian Wei. And in the end, at the same time as the chains were severed, Lin Li's spiritual energy and divine sense, which had penetrated deep into the ground, would give Lin Li some information which would cause Lin Li to be pleasantly surprised. At this moment, below Lin Rei's feet, about halfway up the mountain, Lin Rei's mental power and soul power entered a space where Lin Rei saw the original appearance of the array. He also saw a dozen purple chains that were extending upward. It was obvious that they were the chains that locked Dian Wei. Lin Rei was delighted to see that. Yeah, damn it. I've finally found you. Don't think that you can stop me just because there are some powerful traps up there. Looking at the array down below, Lin Rei said angrily, "You should know that I'm Lin Rei. You're dreaming if you think that you can stop me with such little difficulty." After saying that, he smirked. The silhouette formed by his consciousness moved and dashed into the formation. He activated his mental energy immediately. Even though he was only at full paragon level, his horizons were not low. Furthermore, he had the help of the system. System, check if the center of the array is in that direction. As he spoke, Lin Rei pointed at the place behind him that gave him the same feeling. After entering this place, he felt that this place gave him a very, very different feeling. Other places gave him a very oppressive feeling, but this place gave him a very gentle and comfortable feeling. Okay. Wait a moment. Hearing Lin Rei's request for help, the system responded and then began to check in the direction that Lin Rei pointed at. Time didn't pass very quickly. He thought that he would have to wait for a while, but after a few seconds, the system's voice sounded in his ear. "Heh, you little brat, your luck is always so good. I don't know if it was related to luck in your previous life that you are so lucky in this life." Huh? So you're saying that this is where the core of the formation is located? A smile appeared on Lin Li's face as he spoke to the system. Yes, that's right. The system nodded and said, "That's indeed where the center of the array is. Also, there's a nice thing that can be used as the center of the array. It should be good for you. If you can get it, I believe it will be helpful for your cultivation." Oh. Hearing this, Lin Li was startled. Lin Li didn't really care about the formation cores, but if he really did as the system had said, then the result would be different. "Okay, it's up to you. You'll know when you get there." He didn't continue speaking. Instead, he cut off the conversation with Lin Li. Lin Rei was stunned for a moment and then felt helpless. However, he soon adjusted his mood. After all, it wasn't the first time that the system did that, and he was used to it. Alas, I'd better do it myself. Then, he shook his head and moved. He kicked his legs and jumped in the direction he had pointed out before. His speed wasn't very fast. Although he was in a state of divine consciousness, some formations could restrain the body of divine consciousness. As the saying went, caution is the parent of safety. If one walked by the river often, one's shoes would get wet. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the place where Linley's real body was, 7 or 8 chains around Dian Wei's body had already been broken, but the other half of them were still holding Dian Wei's body tightly, making it impossible for him to move. Dian Wei was quite speechless about that. F***ck. This thing is pretty useful. Seeing that he had spent so much time and effort to acquire so little, Linley felt a sense of frustration. He didn't expect that this chain would be so powerful, and that it would have so much energy. Logically speaking, the spiritual energy required for this array was not a little bit. But now, just a few chains had taken him so long to devour, and he even used the Devour Heaven's End technique. Just like that, the state lasted for an hour. Finally, after a crack, the last chain on Dian Wei's body was broken, and he regained his freedom. However, he didn't dare to do anything at this moment. He could only walk slowly to where Lin Rei and the others were. His cultivation wasn't suitable at all. He didn't want to stand there like an idiot for too long. Okay, you wait here. I'll go in and take a look. Seeing that Dian Wei was fine, Lin Rei said to the others. Then, he cast an earth-burrowing technique on himself and rushed to the array space halfway up the mountain. Lin Rei was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he entered the array space where his divine consciousness had been before. He landed on the ground and glanced around to find the direction where his divine consciousness had gone. Then, he jumped and rushed in that direction. More than 10 minutes ago, according to the message he received, he had reached the center of the array successfully. However, for some reason, the moment his soul entered the center of the array, he was locked in the center of the array by a few purple chains, just like what happened to Dian Wei. Linley was frantic about this, but he also felt fortunate. Because his divine sense was unharmed, he didn't want his divine sense to be trapped inside. After all, if his divine sense were to shrink, it would be very troublesome. He didn't like trouble, so, Lin Rei knew there was no danger on the path he had taken. At this moment, he sped up as fast as he could. Of course, he was only using his physical strength. After all, his physical body was strong enough to fight against a peak ultimate god without losing. He was so fast that it didn't take long for him to arrive near the array core. He didn't know what was going on inside and didn't want to be locked by strange chains after entering the array core like his divine consciousness. Boy, hurry up and go in. Your divine consciousness is about to be devoured. Suddenly, the system's urgent voice was heard. Lin Rei was stunned. What? Upon hearing that, Lin Rei was stunned at first. Then, he looked up and saw that his divine consciousness, which was originally intact, began to blur in fear. What's going on? It was fine just now. Lin Rei was dumbfounded by what he saw. It was fine just now, but now, don't waste time. Hurry up. The system reminded him. Oh. Right. He didn't waste any more words and didn't hesitate like before. He raised his foot and took a step into the formation. He didn't care about anything when he was in front of his divine consciousness. Now that it was locked by the chains, it was as if it was sealed. The only way to retrieve his divine consciousness was to break the chains. He thought about it, but he couldn't use his cultivation. Then, he stretched out his hands, grabbed the chains, and exerted force in his arms. Suddenly, the dormant divine consciousness in his body woke up completely under the control of Lin Rei. His muscles bulged and his strength exploded. Arg. Break. He didn't care about anything else and didn't care if his actions would cause any changes to the array core. The only thing he knew was that he had to release his divine consciousness. Otherwise, it would be too late. With a sudden burst of power, he raised his physical body to the level of a quasi-sage. All of a sudden, a crack appeared on the originally smooth chain. Gotcha. Gotcha, heh, kid, you want to fight with me? How dare you? His voice trailed off. Just as Linley was feeling smug, an iron chain suddenly appeared from beneath his feet, and with incredible speed, it began to bind Linley's legs. How can this be? Chapter 831. Lin Ray was taken aback and his expression turned solemn. It happened so fast that he was not prepared for it at all. Although he had thought of the possibility before, however, when such a thing really happened, he would still feel a little flustered. After all, this thing had a sealing effect. Seeing the purple chains appear one after another, quickly entangling Lin Ray's feet and intending to touch Lin Ray's upper body, Lin Ray could not stand it. If he was entangled even when he hurt someone, he would be at the mercy of others, just like Dian Wei. Boom, puff, puff, puff. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking wave of heat spread out in all directions, with Linley at the center. Around Linley's body, at this moment, a blood-red flame began to burn. Illusory soul blood fire. Just then, just as Linley had been in a state of confusion, he had suddenly, for some strange reason, used the mirage blood fire. However, even though he had made a mistake, he had still managed to hit the mark. What Linley had never imagined was that the appearance of the mirage blood fire would cause the violet chains to slowly shrink back. Huh? What's going on? This scene caused Linley's heart to turn cold. The violet chain seemed to have a spirit, as if it had a life of its own. When the illusory spirit blood fire appeared, it began to tremble, as if it was afraid of being burned by the flames. Although the speed wasn't very fast, it didn't take more than a minute for it to completely disappear. Thus, Linley regained his freedom. Without the restriction of the violet chains, Linley felt much more relaxed, and some of his previous worries began to fade away. Hey, I didn't expect that you would be afraid of my flames. That's good. In that case, then. Looking at the purple chains that locked the body of consciousness, Lin Ray smiled. Boom, suddenly, Linley activated all of his mirage blood fire. In the next instant, the mirage blood fire was like a serpent, instantly charging out. As though it had come to life, it wrapped itself around the violet chains that were binding his divine sense, then began to burn it. The effect was immediate. Just like before, after the purple chain came into contact with the blood-red flame, it began to slowly retreat. As he watched the purple chain slowly recede, his body of consciousness slowly regained its freedom. Lin Ray felt a slight sense of relief, but along with this relief, there were also doubts. He didn't understand why a chain formed by a formation would be afraid of his illusory spirit blood fire. Lin Ray couldn't figure it out. Although Lin Ray knew that the illusory spirit blood fire was incomparably powerful, but, regarding the formation, he had never thought of it. Alright, don't think about it. If you can't figure it out, then don't think about it. At this moment, the system spoke. The power of the illusory spirit blood fire has only just begun to show. Your understanding of it is still too small. Therefore, you should quickly increase your cultivation. One day, you will know the power of the illusory spirit blood fire. At that time, all your questions will be answered. This. Listening to the system's advice, Lin Ray felt even more stifled. This made him want to understand the mystery of the illusory spirit blood fire even more. However, since the system had already said so, Lin Ray could only hide his curiosity and wait for the future. Clack. At this moment, a strange sound was heard. His mind was awakened by the strange sound. Looking up, he saw that the last purple chain that locked the body of consciousness had completely disappeared at this moment. Linley smiled at this, then waved his hand towards the avatar of divine sense. Come back. Whoosh, hearing Lin Ray's call, the body of consciousness instantly turned into a flash of light and rushed into Lin Ray's body, returning to the place where he was supposed to be. Phew, after doing all this, the return of the body of consciousness made Lin Ray exhale a long breath of turbid air. His face relaxed slightly, but it did not last long. Immediately, it became serious and dignified. Looking at the vast darkness ahead, Lin Rei had a vague feeling that there was a terrifying existence sealed there. And this existence made his heart and soul tremble. However, even so, Lin Rei had no intention of backing down. Instead, his face was full of determination. He took a step forward, indicating his decision. Go, there is no danger ahead. At most, it is a small danger. Overcome it and it will be over. You should feel that it is worth it to be able to obtain the things here. The system suddenly said. Hearing the system's words, Linley was startled. His face was filled with astonishment, and he stared in front of him with a strange look in his eyes. He thought to himself, minor danger, minor disaster. If you say, minor danger, then there must be some danger. Lin Rei had some doubts about the system. Whether it was the system or the little dragon, he had been cheated countless times by these two people. What's wrong? You don't believe me? Looking at Lin Rei's strange gaze, the system was stunned. There was no response. After looking ahead, his heart was startled, and he immediately stepped forward. In order to prevent the previous incident from happening again, Lin Rei enveloped his body with the illusory spirit blood fire, forming a blood-red robe that wrapped him in it to prevent the invasion of the purple chain. As for the system, after Lin Rei didn't speak, it didn't speak anymore and returned to silence. In this regard, Lin Rei didn't have much of a response. On the top of the mountain, Bai Qi and the others who were waiting for Lin Rei were filled with anxiety and nervousness. Sigh. It was a mission that was given to us, but we still had to disturb young master in the end. Really? At that moment, Bai Qi looked in the direction where Lin Rei left with a guilty and reproachful expression. In such a strange place, he couldn't guarantee that Lin Rei wouldn't be in danger. And as a subordinate, he actually didn't have the ability to protect him, which made him feel like something was really wrong. Don't say any more. If it weren't for me, young master wouldn't have ended up like this. At that moment, after hearing Bai Qi's words, Dian Wei felt deeply remorseful and secretly took all the responsibility on himself. At the side, Red Lotus couldn't stand it any longer and scolded, "Look at the two of you. Young master hasn't even said anything and you're already blaming yourselves." We. Upon hearing that, the words we got lost in their words. We don't know how powerful young master is. Besides, do you think young master will stumble here? Even the purple chain from before didn't baffle young master. Do you think this array formation will baffle young master? With that, Red Lotus continued in disbelief. Anyway, I don't believe it. No matter what you do, everything will have to wait until young master returns safely. When the time comes, if young master continues to act like this, we'll see if he will beat you up. After saying that, Red Lotus shut her mouth and stopped talking. Upon hearing Red Lotus's words, Bai Qi and the others lowered their heads and fell into silence. It was apparent that they had listened to Red Lotus's words. After all, Red Lotus was summoned together with them. Besides, Red Lotus was their big sister back then. However, Lin Rei, who they were worried about, was currently walking slowly in the magical array space. He looked around and felt very uncomfortable. Tisk, just how big is this place? Seeing that the path ahead was still pitch black and long, Lin Rei frowned and his face was filled with displeasure. After walking for a long time, he still hadn't reached the core of the magical array. Lin Rei's heart was filled with doubts. Previously, he had checked that the core of the magical array should be here, but in the end, there was no core of the magical array. Instead, it was like an endless path. The more he walked, the more Lin Rei felt that something was wrong. He even had a feeling that he had unknowingly entered a huge illusory magical array. Looking at the pitch-black surroundings, Lin Rei became more and more convinced. Then, he stopped and didn't move forward. He sat down cross-legged and his mental energy rushed out, filling his surroundings with a huge amount of mental energy. He wanted to see where exactly he was. Logically speaking, after entering the core of the magical array, he should be safe and sound. Moreover, he should be able to find the core of the magical array. But now, not only did he not find anything, but he was also on an endless path. It was like a ghost going around a wall. There was no end. At that moment, Lin Rei suppressed the displeasure in his heart. He emptied his mind and used his mental energy to feel the runes of the magical array around him. He wanted to know if he was in an illusory magical array or not. Boom. His mental energy instantly entered the magical array. He saw the runes of the magical array clearly appear in Lin Rei's mind. Double magical array? No, it's the interlocking magical array. At that moment, Lin Rei saw the changes in the runes of the magical array. Finally, he concluded that it was the interlocking magical array. The interlocking magical array was a type of magical array. It was formed by connecting multiple magical arrays. It was ever-changing. If the first magical array was broken, then, the second magical array would be formed automatically. If the second magical array was broken, then the third magical array would be formed. So on and so forth, it would forever be impossible to unravel, and it would become an endless cycle. Of course, this was only limited to those existences with low attainments in formations. Those with good cultivations would be able to discern the strangeness of this with a single glance. Just like Linley right now. Staring at the interlocking formation, he felt a sense of helplessness and displeasure. Motherf ****, can you please do this? You're a powerful figure, after all. How can you not know about such a powerful sealing formation and yet not know about such a disgusting interlocking formation? Aren't you trying to disgust me? Seeing that the interlocking magical array was constantly changing, Lin Rei was suddenly enlightened. No wonder I can't get out. If I don't know about it, I'm afraid I won't be able to leave even if I die. As he spoke, he was stunned. He instantly poured his mental energy into the magical array and it began to crack. Lin Rei could see that although the interlocking magical array was the most disgusting interlocking magical array, its level was indeed very high. It was almost at the middle honorable realm. How dare you disgust me? I will tear you apart. As Lin Rei spoke, he felt indignant. As a complete honorable realm magical array master, it was more than enough to crack the magical array. It was a piece of cake. The enormous mental energy extended to the runes of the interlocking magical array and it began to crack one by one. Days passed. Although it was only a middle honorable realm magical array, the interlocking magical array was not to be underestimated. It was necessary to consume time and energy. The honorable realm magical array was not a cabbage that could be found on the street. It could be broken with a wave of one's hand. 19 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Rei, who was sitting in the middle of the magical array, suddenly opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. It's finally solved. Damn, it's really not easy. As he spoke, he raised his hand and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Then, a mysterious seal was formed instantly. Universe, break, boom, suddenly, the entire magical array space began to tremble. At this moment, something wonderful happened. The originally pitch-black path was replaced by a ray of light that appeared above Lin Rei's head. Staring at the light, Lin Li's smile grew even wider. God damn it. What the hell was that thing sealed? Why did it have to be so troublesome? I wonder if that bastard was bored out of his mind back then. As he waited, he couldn't help but curse the person who set up the magical array. However, the surrounding light grew brighter and brighter until the darkness disappeared completely. The array core was completely exposed in front of Lin Rei's eyes. At this moment, not far in front of Lin Rei, there was a purple jade pendant that looked like an eye lying flat on the ground. Traces of strange energy were continuously rushing out from the jade pendant. Look, it's so powerful just like that. Looking at the jade pendant, Lin Rei couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock on his face. Yes, this thing is indeed extraordinary. At least, I've told you that this thing is very useful for you. So, find the thing sealed here first. With the magical array here, it'll be beneficial for you to subdue the sealed thing. Oh. Hearing the sudden words, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he nodded his head. Yes, I understand. Moving his gaze away from the altar, Lin Rei's heart skipped a beat. A strange feeling came from behind him, and this feeling startled him. He quickly turned his head to look. Not far behind him, a small figure that looked like a soul was floating in the air. The only difference was that he was chained up in the air by chains from top to bottom, making him unable to move. Damn, it can't be, right? After so long, it's just for this thing? Looking at the small figure, Lin Rei was puzzled. However, although he didn't understand, he didn't lower his guard in the slightest. That little person caused Lin Li's heart to be filled with fear. What is this? Not daring to be careless, Huang Xiaolong asked the system. The holy eye can also be called a saint godhead. Of course, to understand, it is the essence of a true saint. With it, as long as one can refine it, then that person will become a true saint. What? Holy Godhead, holy eye? Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei was puzzled. He had never heard of such a thing. The system nodded and said, this thing, every true saint has it, but it has completely merged with the great Tao imprint. You can't use it. Chapter 832. Is that so? Although he had heard of it before, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when he heard it again. After all, this thing could increase one's cultivation and could even reach the holy realm. Lin Rei believed that even if it wasn't him, no one would be able to resist the temptation of this thing. In fact, for the sake of this sacred eye, there might even be a bloodbath. Alright, I'll leave it to you to decide what to do with it. I'll take my leave. Oh, right. You don't have much time left for the 100-year mission. So, hurry up and finish up your business here, then leave. After speaking, without waiting for Lin Li to reply, he disappeared, entering a state of silence. Lin Rei felt helpless at the system's reminder. He didn't want to think about it at first, but now that the system mentioned it, his time was tight again. Really, how long has it been since I came back? He complained, his face full of unhappiness. However, when he thought that if he couldn't complete it, he would lose his life. Suddenly, Lin Rei's fighting spirit was high and he had an inexhaustible energy. Sigh. With a sigh, he shook his head and threw all the bad things to the back of his mind. His attention was once again focused on the sacred eye that was locked in the air before the new year. Looking at it, Lin Rei's expression was full of passion. With you, I will have a sage as my subordinate. This way, when I reach the holy realm, there might be a little protection. Boom! After saying that, with a boom, a terrifying flame rushed out of his palm and jumped around in Lin Rei's hand like a fire spirit. It was very naughty, like a naughty child. Heh, unseal me. With a boom, a palm was sent towards the sacred eye. The moment it was sent out, the illusory spirit blood fire condensed in his palm rushed out and rushed towards the chain that locked the sacred eye. Whoosh, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. A blood-red light rushed out in an instant, and the path was very beautiful. In the space where the temperature was just right, the moment the illusory spirit blood fire broke through the air, the surrounding air began to heat up. As time passed, the surrounding temperature became hotter and hotter. At this moment, the entire space had become a large steamer, an extremely high-temperature oven. Walala, walala, suddenly, the chains that felt the illusory spirit blood fire rushing towards them all began to tremble. The sounds of the chains colliding and shaking resounded in the space of the formation eye. If you're scared, then get out of here. I guarantee that I won't tear this formation apart. If you don't return, then, as he spoke, a murderous aura flashed in his eyes. If you don't return, I will destroy this place for you. You must believe that I have the strength to do so. Don't underestimate me. Otherwise, I won't be able to defeat you. Puff puff, as he spoke, the illusory spirit blood fire had already reached the chain. Instantly, the illusory spirit blood fire near the chain suddenly separated, forming small fire dragons that began to coil around the chain and burn it. However, the illusory spirit blood fire seemed to have a spirit of its own. It didn't approach the sacred eye at all, as if it was afraid of burning the sacred eye. Gotcha! A small hole suddenly appeared on the chain around the sacred eye's neck. As the hole broke, the other places that were burned by the illusory spirit blood fire also began to break slowly. Lin Rei sneered in his heart when he saw this scene. At this moment, he instantly activated the devouring heaven end. A terrifying suction force appeared on Lin Rei's palm. He didn't act rashly, but quietly waited for the chain to break completely. The moment the chain broke, he kept the sacred eye in the system. He made all the preparations, waiting for the moment when the chain broke. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed, and more chains had broken. At this moment, there were no more chains left on the sacred eye. Aside from the one on the four limbs, the rest of the chains had basically all broken and turned into nothingness. Soon, I wonder if Bai Qi and the others are waiting anxiously for me up there. Although it was dark here, Lin Rei could feel that he had been here for at least 10 days. Moreover, this was a conservative estimate. Thinking of this, Lin Rei worked even harder. He immediately used his cultivation to increase the heat of the illusory spirit blood fire. Gotcha! Another chain broke. Lin Rei was a little surprised by this, but he continued to work hard. While he was working hard, the purple jade pendant on the altar seemed to come to life and slowly shifted in the opposite direction of Linli, as if it was afraid that Linli would cause trouble for it after the sacred eye was unlocked. Lin Rei didn't know about this at all. At this moment, he only wanted to get the sacred eye quickly and leave with Bai Qi and the others. After all, his time was limited. He wasn't stupid to waste time in this place. To Lin Rei, time was more precious than anything else. Gotcha! Another chain broke. At this moment, only the chain on his hands was left. He would be able to completely store the sacred eye. At this moment, just as Lin Rei was getting excited, the system, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke. Kid, hurry up, or the jade pendant on the altar will run away. What? Run away? He was confused. He was a little confused by the system's sudden information. It could even be said that he was a little confused. Go back and look at the altar. That thing is good for your cultivation. If it runs away, I won't care. Anyway, I've already told you. As for whether you want to listen or not, it's up to you. After saying this, the system fell silent again. In response to the system's words, Lin Rei rolled his eyes. He listened to the system's words while adding the illusory spirit blood fire. He turned his head and looked at the altar. This is? Turning his head, his eyes fell on the altar. At this moment, on the altar, a purple jade pendant was slowly moving in another direction as if it had grown legs. This scene fell into Lin Rei's eyes. Suddenly, Lin Rei was stunned. The only thing that came to his mind was, what's going on? It's become a spirit. Is it F** King playing with me? F***CK. What does this mean? He opened his mouth and nagged, but his face was full of an interesting smile. Lin Rei was very interested in a jade pendant that could move by itself. Thud, thud, thud. As though it could sense Linli's amused gaze, the cub sped up even further. As it sped up, a series of thumping sounds could be heard. Gotcha, gotcha. In an instant, two strange sounds were heard. The sacred eye was completely unsealed. Suddenly, a terrifying energy appeared in an instant. The energy was full of madness, and it made them want to surrender. F***CK, the moment this energy appeared, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, his face turned pale and his heart jumped. He immediately retracted his gaze and circulated all his cultivation, fully displaying the devouring heaven end. Huff. Puff, suddenly, the devouring heaven end was fully displayed. Dozens of wash-basin-sized whirlpools appeared in front of Lin Rei. With the increase of power, the dozens of whirlpools under Lin Rei's continuous catalysis finally merged into one. Then, a huge whirlpool took shape, and a terrifying devouring power appeared in an instant. Suddenly, in the entire space, everything that could move began to rush toward the whirlpool in front of Lin Rei at full speed. The sacred eye, which had released a powerful aura before, felt this aura. The aura it released was like an injured rabbit at this moment. It was no longer as strong as before, and it even seemed to want to escape in an instant. As for the sacred eye, Lin Rei did not dare to let it out of his sight for a moment. When he felt the sacred eye's intention to escape at this moment, his face was suddenly filled with a cold smile. Huh, trying to escape? Didn't you want to rush over and take over my body just now? Did you want to take over my body? Why, don't you want it now? It turned out that after the sacred eye was completely released from the seal, it felt that Lin Rei's cultivation was weak and wanted to devour and possess him. However, it did not expect that a weak cultivator could use the devouring power that shocked and even made it tremble in fear. At this moment, it was afraid. The sacred eye was afraid. It wanted to escape from this place. Without the restriction of the seal, it would be easy to escape from this place. However, when it felt the suction force from the whirlpool, and at the same time, the suction force was firmly locked in place. It was already impossible for it to escape when it wanted to. No, I am Cheong-chi. You let me go, and I will promise to give you my inheritance. How about that? At this moment, the sacred eye opened its mouth, and the first thing it said was to tempt Lin Rei. Cheong-chi. Hearing the sacred eye's words, Lin Rei was stunned. He knew about Cheong-chi. It was an ancient ferocious beast that could swallow the sun and the moon. It was a king among the ferocious beasts. If it had been anyone else, they would have agreed immediately after hearing this. Unfortunately, the person he had met wasn't an ordinary person, but Linli, who had a system. Moreover, Pai Xiao was also a ferocious beast and was much stronger than Cheong-chi. If he wanted the inheritance, Lin Rei believed that Pai Xiao would give it to him. So, looking at the sacred eye, Lin Rei sneered. His expression was full of contempt and disdain. So what if you are Cheong-chi? It is just a dead thing. Do you think you are strong? Do you think your inheritance is important? Do you think I care? What? Seeing the look of disdain on Linli's face, Cheong-chi was stunned. He was stupefied. He had never imagined that the person in front of him would be like this, so unexpected. Such a headache. Moreover, the inheritance was its only bargaining chip. If it did not care about the inheritance, then, come on. As he spoke, the suction force grew even stronger. Of all the things you shouldn't have done, the only thing you shouldn't have done is try to devour and possess my body. So, disappear. Don't worry, I will not let you die so easily. I will erase your consciousness. After all, your sacred eye contains the essence of your life. The energy inside is enough to make me a saint. Cheong-chi did not want to say anything to the person in front of it. It no longer thought of itself as a ferocious beast. Instead, it was more similar to this person in front of it. I beg you, don't. I don't want to. I don't want to disappear. Please don't do this. Begging for mercy. At this moment, the only thing Cheong-chi could think of was to beg for mercy because he had no other choice. Without a physical body, although his spirit was the essence of his cultivation when he was alive, his strength was still declining. Moreover, from the vortex that Lin Rei used, he felt the aura of death. He knew that if he was devoured by this resentful self, then, only death would await him. Don't you think it's too late to beg for mercy? Listening to Cheong-chi's pleas, Lin Rei sneered and gradually became disdainful. Halfway through, Lin Rei did not stop. Instead, the devouring force continued to increase, little by little, Cheong-chi was now very close to the devouring vortex. As long as he exerted more force, the Pai Xiao would be sucked into the vortex and his purpose of coming here would be completely over. Come on, don't resist. You have to leave in the end. After saying that, a strange seal appeared in an instant and a blood-red flame appeared instantly. Finally, after jumping a few times on the tip of Lin Rei's finger, a hair-like needle appeared on the tip of Lin Rei's finger. I hope this consciousness destroyer formed by the illusory spirit blood fire can completely erase Qiongqi's consciousness without destroying the sacred eye. No. No, I don't want to disappear. I don't want to. Qiongqi, who could feel the strangeness of death from the needle, roared. Swish. He moved. The hand that had compromised with mind annihilation instantly waved toward the sacred eye that was close at hand. At the same time as Lin Rei swung his hand, the consciousness destroyer rushed out and rushed into Qiongqi's mind. Qiongqi let out a painful roar. But, as time passed, the roar became weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared completely. The sacred eye was completely lifeless. The sacred eye, which was struggling fiercely, had completely calmed down. It floated in midair and looked around in confusion. Looking at the changes in the sacred eye, Lin Rei smiled. Isn't this better? You even forced me to use the devouring sky and... Really? Knowing that Qiongqi's consciousness was completely destroyed, Lin Rei heaved a sigh of relief. He waved his hand and a hand formed by spiritual energy instantly grabbed the sacred eye. With a thought, he kept it in the system. Phew, after doing all this, Lin Rei couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief and revealed a relaxed smile. Don't rest. Hurry up and replace that thing. Then we'll leave. There's nothing left for you to stay here. Just as Lin Rei was about to relax, the system's voice suddenly sounded. In an instant, Lin Rei's body tensed up and he nodded subconsciously. Got it. Chapter 833. At this moment, the violet jade-like eye had already reached the very edge of the area, and was about to fall to the ground. Looking at it, Linley smiled, then took a step forward and instantly arrived next to it. Looking at it, he spoke. He looked at it and said, "Little guy, I won't mistreat you if you follow me." As he spoke, his divine consciousness entered the system and began to search for an item that could replace the jade eye. Previously, he had said that he wouldn't break the array here, so... Lin Rei kept his word. At this moment, rows of heaven and earth treasures appeared in front of Lin Rei in the system's storage basket. Beside each heaven and earth treasure, there was a list of their names, uses, and what they were used for. This list only appeared when the system was upgraded to LV3. He stared at the storage basket and scanned the heaven and earth treasures on it, his face full of worry. Which one should I choose? This array has the ability to seal. What kind of heaven and earth treasure can be used to replace it? Thinking about this, Lin Rei felt troubled. All the things here were treasures of Lin Rei's collection. Each of them was priceless. Any random item that fell into the god realm would be in existence that would set off a reign of terror. The balance chain had the ability to seal, but, if he were to replace the jade eye, the falling rain would be a little too ineffective. The Sorcerer's Pagoda, the most valuable treasure of the Sorcerer's tribe. It can seal powerful spirits, so it must have the ability to seal. It's an item sought after by all the realms. TSK, no, it's too valuable. Looking at the heaven and earth treasures, Lin Rei either felt that they weren't qualified or were too valuable. They didn't fit Lin Rei's thoughts at all. Wang, however, just as Lin Rei was having a headache, Wang's sound came from the side. The sound was so loud that Lin Rei was shocked and turned his head to look. He saw a Tianmin appear before Lin Rei's eyes. It emitted a faint blue light, and at first glance, it gave people a sense of loneliness. Tianmin? Lin Rei was startled after seeing the strange appearance of Tianmin. Tianmin was no ordinary object. It was a sword, an incomparably sharp treasured sword. It was in existence at the quasi-sage level. Moreover, in this Tianmin, there was the divine soul of a giant beast. Although its name sounded nice, it was undeniable that it was a ferocious sword that killed decisively. It was bloodthirsty, and blood would be spilled when it was unsheathed. However, it was also because of the effects of Tianmin that Lin Rei was puzzled. Why would an ominous sword without any sealing ability be humming at this time? He really didn't understand. No matter how he thought about it, Lin Rei could not understand why a ferocious sword would willingly become the eye of a formation. You want to become the eye of the formation here? Although Lin Rei was certain in his heart, he still couldn't help but ask. Wang. Wang. Upon hearing Lin Rei's question, Tianmin buzzed a few times as if it was saying, yes, I also want to become the array core here. Please agree, master. Damn, it really is true? After receiving confirmation, Lin Rei was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled bitterly. Sigh, I originally wanted you to become that person's weapon and follow him into the Jotian city to make a name for yourself. This. Although he felt a little regretful in his heart, since it had agreed, Lin Rei had nothing else to say. All right. Although there was a slight flaw in letting Tianmin become the array core, in the end, Lin Rei still nodded in agreement. Since you want to become the array core here, this sovereign agrees. After saying that, he reached out and sucked Tianmin. Tianmin instantly disappeared from the storage basket. When it reappeared, it was naturally tightly held in Lin Rei's hand. Wang. When the sword entered his hand, a shocking sword aura instantly rushed out. The humming of the sword instantly rushed out from Tianmin and resounded through the space. Tisk, tsk, tsk. Good sword, but... what a pity. After sighing with regret, his gaze fell on the purple jade eye with determination. Looking at the purple jade eye, Lin Rei smiled slightly. Then, he reached out and activated the devouring sky hand. In an instant, he rushed into the magnetic field around the jade eye. He grabbed the jade eye in one hand. The moment he picked it up, his other hand rushed into the magnetic field at a speed invisible to the naked eye and replaced the jade eye. The moment the jade eye was replaced with Tianmin, the entire array on one side violently shook. Cracks appeared under Lin Rei's feet as if it was about to collapse in an instant. However, Lin Rei's actions were fast. After the replacement, the array immediately started operating again. However, the level of the array seemed to have dropped a little at this moment. It fell from the original saint level to the current saint level. Hee hee. There was a smug look on his face and his heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. However, when he felt that the array's level had dropped, Lin Rei's heart was filled with regret. Tisk, tsk, tsk. What a pity. A perfectly good saint-level spell formation was turned into. With that, Lin Rei did not continue. Because of the drop in the array's level, Lin Rei always felt a little guilty. A sense of guilt welled up in his heart. Suddenly, the jade eye in his hands suddenly emitted a cold aura, instantly swallowing up the guilt in Linley's heart. Linley was naturally able to sense this anomaly very clearly. Linley was overjoyed. Lowering his head to take a look, he raised his hand, only to see a violet jade eye lying quietly in his palm. At this moment, the jade-like eye emitted a faint purple light that enveloped Linley's palm. At the same time, there was a strange coldness that constantly emanated from the jade-like eye and continuously entered Linley's palm, causing it to spread throughout his entire body. This energy only made Lin Rei feel comfortable and warm. There was not a trace of discomfort. What exactly is this jade eye? It can absorb people's emotions. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He could not help but sigh at the jade eye's ability. I told you before that this thing is useful to you. Moreover, it is a complete treasure. You must not let someone stronger than you obtain it. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos. Suddenly, just as the system was sighing, the system suddenly spoke, catching Lin Rei a little off guard. Hiss. Hearing this, Lin Rei could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His face was filled with shock and confusion. He was shocked that the system had placed this jade eye in such a high regard. He was also confused because he could not understand how this jade eye could, as the system said, create chaos in the new world. Don't doubt me. This thing really works. The system could read Linley's mind and laughed. If not, you can inject this blood essence into the jade eye. Then you'll know if I'm telling the truth. Although he still did not believe it and felt that this was a trap, but subconsciously, Lin Rei used all his strength to force out a drop of his essence blood. Finally, it fell on the jade eye. Boom, rumble, suddenly, the sound of thunder resounded through the sky. Even Lin Rei, who was halfway up the mountain, could hear the rolling thunder outside. Damn, it can't be. Hearing the sound of thunder, Lin Rei was startled. He looked up at the sky in confusion. Unfortunately, this was a spell formation space. Looking up was the spell formation. Press the jade eye to the center of your forehead. At this time, the system spoke again. Oh. Although he knew that this could be a trap, he still listened to the system and pressed the jade eye to his forehead. Ah, a roar resounded through the entire spell formation space. His face was full of proof. Then, with a plop sound, he knelt on the ground. He pressed one hand to his forehead and the other to the ground. His face was pale and ferocious. He looked like an evil spirit of the world, causing people to tremble in fear. How? How can there be so much information? It's like a tidal wave, surging towards my Bohai Sea. At this time, Lin Rei spoke with difficulty. His voice was full of shock and disbelief. However, the pain was real. It came from his soul. It came from his head. Bear with it. Just as Lin Rei was in unbearable pain, the system's voice rang in his mind. The voice was full of expectation. It was as if it already knew about this beforehand. What? What's going on? This thing is. His eyes were swollen with pain. It was as if an ice blade had slashed across his eyes. This is a kind of eye technique. I originally thought that this kind of technique no longer existed in this world. But just before, when I felt the jade eye, I already knew that this thing still exists. As it spoke, the system seemed to be excited and spoke faster. As long as you can possess this eye technique, then, it is equivalent to you possessing the seal. Bear with it. This pain is only temporary. As long as you get past this hurdle, you will gain endless benefits. After saying that, without waiting for Lin Rei to speak, and before Lin Rei could ask any questions, it disappeared without a trace. F***ck, I knew that you were up to no good. As expected, I was tricked again. Although the system said that it was chasing after him, in the end, wasn't it still painful? But, however, to be able to make the system so excited, and to think so highly of it, Lin Rei was still secretly looking forward to it. Although it was painful before, as long as he got it, Lin Rei didn't feel that it was a bad deal. Hiss. But, it really hurts. If the pain of the soul isn't what I'm looking for, then, thinking about this, Lin Rei closed his eyes and struggled to support his body. He sat cross-legged, and his thoughts instantly entered his mind and began to explore the information that entered his mind. Eye seal, also known as the Eye of Seal. Once the Eye of Seal is used, all seals in time will become illusory and disappear like bubbles. The origin was unknown. The only thing that was known was that the first person who possessed the Eye of Seal was a supreme being who could seal everything in the world in the blink of an eye. In the dragon sky, there was always a person who possessed the Eye of Seal who could seal everything in the blink of an eye. It was the strongest eye technique of time. Hiss, after reading this information, Lin Rei couldn't help but gasp. His face was full of astonishment. The first person who possessed the Eye of Seal was a supreme being who could seal everything in the world in the blink of an eye. F***ck, this kind of strength. How strong must he be to be able to do this? However, compared to this, Lin Rei was more interested in the dragon sky. What exactly did the dragon sky refer to? World? Or space? Perhaps it was the name of a person or the existence of a secret realm. The pain continued, but facing the question that he wanted to know, this pain was nothing. System, come out and tell me what the dragon sky mentioned in the jade eye means. System? Come out? Answer my questions. He roared at the system, but in the end, it was like a yak entering the sea. There was no reply. After half an hour, the system was still silent. Regarding this, Lin Rei understood that the dragon sky was an existence that he couldn't know about for now. Just like that, the system still didn't reply. Lin Rei gave up on asking and chose to remain silent, silently accepting the information that was transmitted to him by the Eye of Seal. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. At this moment, Lin Rei was sitting cross-legged in the spell space. His entire body was filled with a strange aura that made one's heart palpitate. Phew! Suddenly, Lin Rei exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His lips moved and then his eyes slowly opened. Wang! A ray of light shot out from the corner of his eyes and shot towards a spell formation not far away. Walala! Walala! Suddenly, numerous purple chains rushed out and began to extend. They began to climb upwards. Hee hee. Seeing this happen so suddenly, Linley was startled. But then, a smile appeared on his stunned face. Although I have just finished accepting the Eye of Seal, I have already reached the beginner realm. Although it is the lowest of the 9 realms, but this is enough. After receiving the inheritance of the Eye of Seal, the information showed that there were 9 realms in the Eye of Seal. They were beginner realm, nuance realm, small success realm, familiar realm, meson realm, great success realm, pinnacle realm, complete realm, and the never-before-seen 10th level, pure realm. Of course, because no one had ever succeeded, the Eye of Seal was divided into 9 levels. The so-called 10th level was abandoned. It's time to go out. The purple light in his eyes disappeared and returned to normal. Then, he stood up and looked up. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Then, he used the earth burrow technique. Both of his feet kicked off the ground and he jumped up. Then, he disappeared from the space of the spell formation. At that moment, at the peak of the mountain, Bai Qi and the others who were waiting for Linley and the others were seated cross-legged. Their bodies were surrounded by a formless barrier, and they were quietly cultivating outside the barrier. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure rushed out from the mountain and landed not far away from Bai Qi and the others. Heh, it must have been hard on them. Looking at Bai Qi and the others who were cultivating, Lin Rei smiled. However, just as Lin Rei was feeling slightly guilty, Red Lotus, who was cultivating, felt something strange. She withdrew her aura and stopped cultivating. Then, she opened her eyes and looked up. Young master. At this moment, the person Red Lotus was looking at was their young master, Linley, whom they had been worried about. Chapter 834. Seeing Red Lotus suddenly awaken, Linley was startled. Then, he regained his composure and nodded towards her. Laughing, he said, "Right. I acquired a few things inside. Naturally, this trip to the Jianghu sect is over." So, hearing this, Red Lotus nodded, understood. "I will wake Bai Qi and the rest up now." She then closed her eyes and sent a message into the minds of Bai Qi and the rest. "Wake up. The young master has come out of seclusion. We have to go back." Huff huff. Suddenly, as soon as Red Lotus finished speaking, Bai Qi and the rest retracted their auras and stopped cultivating. When they opened their eyes, they were filled with joy. Raising his head, he looked at Linley. When he saw Linley standing not too far away, smiling calmly at them, Bai Qi was startled. He hurriedly rose to his feet and bowed respectfully. Bai Qi pays his respects to the young master. Kuegang, Ming, Tianyun, greets the young master. With Bai Qi taking the initiative, everyone stood up and bowed respectfully to Lin Rei. Hee hee, looking at them, Lin Rei was surprised. Then, he smiled, "All right, there are no outsiders here. You don't have to do this in the future. He is my trusted aide. This is an order. Remember." "Yes." After hesitating for a while, Lin Rei did not have much hope for them to change. After all, they had been deeply imprinted in their minds by the system. Let's go. The matter here has been resolved. It is time for us to leave. Looking at everyone, Lin Rei said. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Then, their faces were filled with hesitation. This was especially so for Bai Qi. He wanted to say something but stopped. How could Lin Li not know the expressions on everyone's faces, as well as Bai Qi's attitude? Looking at him, Lin Rei said, "What's the matter? If you have something to say, just say it. How can you still be called the god of war if you're so wishy-washy?" Hearing those words, Bai Qi froze for a moment before nodding his head. "Young master, it is true that we destroyed Qinkuan's sect. However, Qinkuan's sect is a huge sect with a long history. Now that the sect has been destroyed, their scripture depository and their heritage. I have never seen them before, so, When Bai Qi said this, Lin Rei was stunned and speechless. He had thought that it was something big, but it turned out to be this. However, Bai Qi's words were not without reason. Furthermore, he also wanted to see just how deep the foundations of this ancient sect were. Furthermore, even if it wasn't for himself, for the sake of the sect, there was still a need for him to check out the resources of the Qinkuan sect. Thinking about it, Lin Rei nodded and said, "Okay, since that's the case, then go. Remember, if you find a dangerous place, you must not act on your own. Everything must be done under the condition that you ensure your own safety. Do you understand?" Yes, everyone's expressions were filled with excitement. Using their cultivation bases, they leaped into the air and sent out their divine senses, each of them rushing in a different direction. "TSK, I'm looking forward to it." Looking at the expressions on everyone's faces as they left, Lin Rei chuckled. His consciousness flickered as he spoke to the system, "Come out and eat some instant noodles. Where is the most likely place for the hidden genius of Qinkuan sect to appear?" Ding. "Yes, master." At this time, the system did not appear, but the sound of the system notification appeared. Ding. "Beginning scanning, please wait, Upon hearing the system notification, Lin Rei was taken aback. He nodded his head and stood on the spot without moving. However, he didn't stay idle as he extended his consciousness and enveloped the entire Qinkuan sect. From the 9 heavens to the 9 hells, as long as it was within the range of Lin Rei's consciousness, even an ant that a child wouldn't be able to detect would be clearly visible in Lin Rei's mind. Time passed by slowly. From the deepest part of Qinkuan sect to the entrance of Qinkuan sect, Lin Rei scanned the entire place. But, to Lin Rei's disappointment, he couldn't find a single clue about the location of the treasures. In fact, Lin Rei couldn't even detect the slightest movement. Towards this, Lin Rei's mind was filled with doubt. He believed in his own consciousness. But now, he was starting to doubt it. At this moment, Lin Rei seemed to have forgotten that the system was still scanning. But, just as Lin Rei's brows were furrowed, the system notification rang in his mind. Hearing it, Lin Rei's heart leaped with joy. Ding! Discovered a strange area. It is emitting a dense amount of spiritual energy. Initial suspicions are that it is where Qinkuan sect keeps their treasures. Oh! Hearing this, Lin Rei was overjoyed. His voice became urgent. "Where is it? Quick, tell me, where is it?" Ding! About 10,000 meters away from the entrance of Qinkuan sect, wait for a moment. There is an indistinct sealing spell over there. It is of the honorable grade. If master goes there, you can break it with a wave of your hand. Hearing the system notification, Lin Rei was stunned. But thinking that he had already left the location of the treasures, he didn't have a chance to do so. Alright, that's it. Lin Rei wanted to cut off the connection with the system and rush towards the direction indicated by the system. Whoosh, his figure shot out and flew towards the direction of Qinkuan sect. His speed was extremely fast. But just as he took off, the system notification rang in his head. Ding! Searching for treasures in Qinkuan sect. 1 million exchange points will be deducted from master. Deal? As soon as the system notification rang out, Lin Rei staggered and almost fell from the sky. At this moment, Lin Rei's face turned slightly sour. He felt as though he had been cheated. He didn't expect the system to do this to him. Really, ding. Deal? But at this moment, the system notification rang out again. He wanted to refuse, but, as soon as he thought about the consequences of refusing, the possibility that he would be wiped out or have his life force reduced, Linley felt a sense of powerlessness fill his heart. In the end, the helpless Lin Rei could only nod his head in agreement. Alright, deal, ding. 1,000,000 exchange points had been deducted. With that, the system fell silent, as though it had sunk into a deep silence. Linley was speechless at this, but since he had already paid so much, if he didn't find the treasures in Jianghu Sect, he would have suffered a huge loss. And Lin Rei wasn't someone who would let himself be taken advantage of. Calming himself down, he disappeared in a flash. By the time he reappeared, he was already 10,000 meters away. After a few flashes, Lin Rei arrived at the location indicated by the system. He landed on the peak of the mountain. Looking at the beautiful scenery, Lin Rei chuckled. This bunch of old fogies sure know how to choose a place. To think that they wouldn't leave their treasures in the sect. Instead, they would place them in such a beautiful place. Respect. Here, there were mountains and rivers. The scenery was picturesque. It was simply a good place to retire. Humph. Scram. You made yours truly lose so many exchange points. If I don't get rid of all of you this time around, I'll have suffered a huge loss. After saying that, he didn't waste any more words. His divine sense instantly rushed out and shrouded the entire mountain under his feet. Just as his consciousness covered the mountain, Lin Fan sensed spiritual energy that was much denser than the outside world seeping out from the waist of the mountain. Sensing this, Lin Rei chuckled. His eyes flashed as he came to the place where the spiritual energy came from and sensed it with his heart. After closing his eyes for a few minutes, Lin Rei finally opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with panic as he smiled. Hee, let's see if I can't find you this time around. Lin Fan raised his hand and clenched his fist. Channeling his cultivation base, he channeled his peak middle ultimate god cultivation base into his fist. Ha! Lin Fan shouted and punched towards the place where the spiritual energy seeped out from. There were two ways to deal with formations. One was to find the eye of the formation, but that would take a lot of time. Of course, the other way was to break it with brute force. That way, it would be much faster. Of course, only those who didn't know how to deal with formations would do that. At this moment, Lin Rei chose the second way because he didn't want to waste too much time here. Moreover, since the spiritual energy seeped out from this place, it meant that there were cracks in the formation. If he punched this place, the final result would be the formation breaking. Bam! A thunderous boom could be heard as his lightning-fast punch smashed into the mountain. However, at this moment, a strange scene occurred. Given Linley's power, there was no way this mountain would be able to withstand such a powerful punch. But now, it was completely undamaged. Quite tenacious. Seeing that the formation was still intact, Lin Rei was stunned. He raised his fist again and punched the place where he punched with all his might. Bam! 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 Next, a loud bang was heard. The second punch still didn't break the formation. Lin Rei started to bombard the formation like a storm. Punch after punch rushed forward. It didn't take long, only a few minutes. Within a few minutes, he punched 100 times. Crunch. A strange sound suddenly rang out. Linley was delighted by this, and his heart was filled with joy. You can't take it anymore. Since that's the case, let me give you a fatal blow. With that, he swung his sandbag-sized fist and punched with all his might. Crack. Boom, it was broken. With this punch, the formation protecting the mountain was finally broken. However, the moment it was broken, a terrifying spiritual energy rushed out. The spiritual energy was 100 times denser than the outside world. Damn, feeling his body being cleansed by the spiritual energy, Lin Rei's body felt light and comfortable. Heh. Come, let me see what's here. With that, he extended his divine sense. Without the obstruction of the formation, it didn't take long. Very quickly, Lin Li found the entrance to the palace. At the foot of the mountain, a door appeared. It wasn't there before. Looking at the door, Lin Rei was delighted. In a flash, he appeared in front of the door. Open. Open, with a simple punch, the door was broken, and the entrance appeared. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and entered. Lin Li's speed was extremely fast. He believed that as long as he had a physical body, there would be nothing here that could harm him. Moreover, his divine sense was always out. If there was any danger, he would be able to detect it in advance. The cave was very deep. After a step, Lin Rei arrived in front of a mountain gate. Looking at the door, there was an ancient aura. On it, there were some mysterious and ferocious beast diagrams. Looking at the beast diagrams, Lin Rei was stunned. He didn't recognize any of the beast diagrams on the door. Moreover, he was sure that there wasn't a single beast in the entire God realm. If that was the case, the only place Lin Rei could think of was the saint's world. There wasn't a single beast in the God realm or the immortal world. Other than the saint's world. Lin Rei couldn't think of any other place. Just you wait. I'll destroy the Qingkuan sect in the saint's world sooner or later. When the time comes, I'll grab the head of the Qingkuan sect and ask him why he's always going against me and why he's looking for the purple bloodline. Break for me, a simple, crude punch. Without the key, Lin Li could only use brute force to deal with it, even though the suddenness of the punch was extremely, boom, in the next moment, the moment his fist landed on the door that was engraved with beast diagrams instantly exploded. Hoo-hoo-hoo, suddenly, the door burst open, and spiritual energy even denser than before gushed out. Lin Rei could confirm that this was where the Qingkuan sect hid their treasures. Stepping through the door, Lin Rei was greeted with the sight of a huge palace. Furthermore, Lin Rei was sure that this palace was at least 2 to 3 times bigger than his own palace in the Xuanzong sect. Within the palace, there was one pillar after another. However, to Lin Li's astonishment, these pillars weren't made of stone. They were all made of sky sandstone. This sort of stone was extremely hard and very hard to find. Yet, they were made into pillars here. Lin Rei couldn't help but wonder how deep the Qingkuan sect's foundations were. See. That's, moving away from the pillars, Lin Fan's gaze landed on a throne not far away. The throne was blue in color, and it was sparkling with a light. F***CK, Chaotic Heaven Mysterious Jade. This. Chaotic Heaven Mysterious Jade. This was an extremely rare material for smithing. Even though it was made of jade, it was extremely tough and beautiful. Grade. In terms of smithing materials, it was comparable to holy grade materials. Even Lin Li, who had the system, couldn't help but sigh in amazement when he saw all of these items. Any one of these items would be enough to start a war in the God realm. Heh. Hurry up and keep them. With these items, the system might be able to level up to level 5 in no time. By then, I'll be able to unlock some unimaginable functions, and I'll regain my memories. Just as Lin Rei was gasping in shock, the system suddenly spoke up, its voice filled with excitement and nervousness. What, memories? Could it be? Hearing this, Lin Rei froze, his heart filled with regret. Chapter 835. All this while, Lin Rei had never heard the system say these words. Now that he heard it, a terrifying thought appeared in Lin Rei's mind. Seems like you've already guessed it. Looking at Lin Rei's shock, the system chuckled and admitted, that's right, I didn't tell you before. Due to certain reasons, the system. That is, I have some memory loss. However, as the system slowly evolves, my memory will also be unlocked bit by bit, so, you don't know what's after that, or perhaps, the system. Maybe it's not only level 5. Maybe there are more levels after that, but your memory is incomplete, so you don't know, right? Is that so? Linley followed up on the system's words. Yes. That's right. The system nodded. I only found out about this recently, but as for whether there are levels after that, I don't know because my memory hasn't returned yet. Maybe when the system evolves to level 5, some of my memory will return and we'll know then. Hearing the system's words, Lin Ray's heart was filled with shock. This was perhaps the most shocking thing that Lin Ray had heard in this period of time. However, it was undeniable that after hearing this, Lin Ray was not only shocked, but also excited because if it was as he thought before, it meant that level 5 wasn't all there was to the system. That's great. Thinking about it, he couldn't help but shout. His face was filled with excitement and even a little impatience. After all, the system was already so powerful when it was upgraded to level 4. If it was upgraded to level 5, or even level 6 or 7 after level 5, then he really didn't dare to imagine how powerful the system would be. That's enough, you haven't even reached level 5 and you're already imagining things? Suddenly, the system reminded Lin Ray. Hearing this, the system blushed and scratched its head embarrassedly. Ha, you brat. Looking at Lin Ray's appearance, the system chuckled before continuing, all right, hurry up and put these things away. With these things, the sect should be able to rise to a higher level. Perhaps the entire sect will follow you soon after you reach the saint's world. Yes, I think so too. After all, I was the one who founded the Xuanzong sect. I don't want the system to remain nameless in the realm of the gods. As he spoke, Lin Ray's face was full of arrogance. Looking at the treasures before him, he sneered, as my sect, even if it doesn't become the leader of all sects, it should at least be above the 9 heavens. You have great ambitions. I admire you. Looking at Lin Ray's excited expression, the system chuckled and stopped talking. In response, Lin Ray smiled and said nothing. Instead, he continued to examine the heavenly treasures before him. As for those that he had examined previously, he had already kept them in his storage ring. However, there were still some that Lin Ray had yet to examine. He wanted to take a good look. Perhaps he could find some pills that could increase his cultivation level. After all, if he wanted to increase his cultivation level bit by bit, it would take him hundreds of years. He wouldn't be able to increase his cultivation level. Therefore, he could only look at pills and experience the edge of life and death to increase his cultivation level. As he thought about it, he moved to another area. What he saw was a small mountain made up of supreme-grade godly crystals. Of course, there weren't only supreme-grade godly crystals. There were also high-grade, middle-grade, and low-grade godly crystals. Fortunately, these were all separated. Regarding this, Lin Ray was still a little grateful to the Qingquan sect. If not, he would have to call them out one by one. That would be so troublesome. Come on, my babies. With that, he used his divine sense to cover the few godly crystals. Then, he removed the 4 storage rings. With a thought, the mountains made up of godly crystals disappeared. After doing all this, Lin Ray placed the 4 storage rings in the system and walked to the bookshelf at the side. Lin Ray had high hopes for the bookshelf. Water-immersed wood was a rare type of wood. Although it wasn't supreme grade, it was enough to show how strong the Qingquan sect was to be able to use water-immersed wood as a bookshelf. He walked slowly to the bookshelf and casually picked up a yellowed book. 4 large words appeared in front of his eyes. Heaven Connecting Technique. Heaven Connecting Technique. Looking at the book in his hands, Lin Ray's expression was filled with disdain. Lin Ray didn't believe that there was anything good about it. However, no matter how much he looked down on this secretary, Lin Ray still flipped it open and started reading. Heaven Connecting Technique. Use the power of the world to build your foundation. Use the power of the world to cultivate your body. It is split into 19 levels. The inner level contains superimposed energy. To reach the highest level, one must have a strong body. To reach the 12th level, one must first break through to the saint realm. He wouldn't have known if he didn't read it. However, the moment he read it, Lin Rei's eyes were completely captivated by the heaven-connecting technique. At the end, after reading the introduction, Lin Rei couldn't help but take in a deep breath. His face was filled with shock. Others might not know how difficult it was for one's physical body to break through to the Saint realm. However, he knew it very well. Furthermore, even he was only a half-sage. To reach the 12th level, one must break through to the Saint realm in order to continue cultivating. Just this little bit more was enough to show how powerful the heaven-connecting technique was. However, there was one thing that Lin Rei didn't quite understand. The power of the world. What was the so-called power of the world? He had only heard of spiritual energy, immortal elemental energy, God elemental energy, saint energy, and Hongmeng energy. This so-called power of the world, he had never heard of it. Sigh. It seems that after you break through to the Saint realm, you will have to go to the scripture pavilion and stay there for 8 to 10,000 years. You don't even know about something as simple as the power of the world. Is this something that I should know? Lin Rei couldn't help but roll his eyes. Suddenly, the system didn't know where to begin. Although not everyone in the God realm knew about this, at the very least, people at his level of strength should know. But now, sigh. In the end, the system let out a sigh, then began to explain to Lin Li in a powerless voice, realm force is something that can be used to call upon spatial energy in order to train. They don't train in spiritual energy. From the very beginning, they train by sensing the realm force. So that's how it is. Hearing this, Lin Li nodded, not quite understanding. Yes. Even on planet Aqua Blue, which was extremely lacking in spiritual energy, as long as you have the cultivation method of the power of the world, even if there is no spiritual energy, you can still cultivate quickly. Take the power of the stars for example. The system gave an analogy. The power of the stars is the power that comes from above the stars. The stars, the power of the world, and the spiritual energy that you cultivate are all similar. It's just that they have the same root but different sources. Oh, in response to the system's explanation, Lin Rei gave a meaningful, oh. Now he understands. After all, the power of the world is the power of the realm. That's enough. Although the heaven-connecting technique is a powerful cultivation method, for you, it is like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you, the system emphasized. He didn't say anything and didn't respond. He put the heaven-connecting technique back in its original position and picked up another one. 6 Dragons Union Technique, 9 Clouds Vast Waves Technique, Heaven-Connecting Dragon Origin Technique, and so on. Lin Rei took the cultivation methods one by one. These cultivation methods were exactly the same as the heaven-connecting technique from before. They were all very powerful, but the system only gave a single sentence in the end. Like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you. In response, Lin Rei only said, got it, got it. After all, this was the system's opinion. Lin Rei still had to listen to it. Although the names of these cultivation methods sounded very flashy, Lin Rei also felt that the Chaos Heaven scripture was more suitable for him. In the end, after Lin Rei was dazzled by the books, he simply stopped looking. With a thought, he moved over 20 bookshelves into the system. Of course, these 20 bookshelves weren't all filled with cultivation methods. Some of the bookshelves only had a total of 12 books. Among them, there were cultivation methods, combat methods, footwork, spells, weapon refinement, talisman, pill refinement, and spell formations. However, most of the cultivation methods that could be placed here were of extremely high quality. After doing all this, Lin Rei's face revealed a satisfied smile. This trip could be said to be a fruitful one. Kid, hurry up and walk straight ahead. There's something there that might be very useful to you. Suddenly, an urgent voice sounded in his mind. Lin Rei was stunned. Ahead? The one who spoke was none other than the system. However, after hearing the system's words, Lin Rei frowned and was puzzled. Yes, ahead. Trust me, I definitely won't lie to you. Hurry up, oh. He nodded. Although he didn't know what it was, if the system was so anxious, its value shouldn't be lower than the ice seal from before. With that thought, he took a step forward and walked forward according to the system's instructions. To the left, then, he came to the location that the system had pointed out. Hearing the system speak again, Lin Rei quickly turned around. He did as he was told. To the right. Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei started to have some doubts. Previously, when the system said that there was something, Lin Rei released his consciousness to check, but he didn't find anything. Hurry up. Behind the wall in front. I feel that the thing is behind the wall. Just as Lin Rei was feeling gloomy, the system suddenly spoke. Lin Li was startled by this. His spirits were lifted, and his previous gloominess was swept away. He took a single step forward, arriving in front of the wall. Staring at the wall, Lin Li spread out his divine sense, but what puzzled Lin Li was that within his divine sense, there was nothing strange about the wall. Give me your body. This thing is sealed. Although you have the ice seal now, you have only just mastered it. You don't have the ability to break it. At this moment, the system said. Although he had many doubts, at the same time, they seemed to coexist. He nodded his head and said, all right, then go. After all, they had worked together a few times before. Without any precaution, Lin Rei handed his body over to the system. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying surge of energy shot out from within Lin Li's body. This surge of energy had already surpassed the limits of what this realm could withstand. However, although Lin Rei withdrew from the control of his body, he could still feel it. Hiss! Lin Rei, who was in his soul state, was shocked. After all, compared to before, the power of the system seemed to have increased by quite a bit. Lin Rei, who was in his soul state, was shocked. Hee, come on. Let me see if this is what I have been waiting for. Looking at the confirmation in front of him, he clenched his hand into a fist and punched the wall. Rumble, as the fist landed, the palace shook. The entrance started to tremble after the previous tremor. Faintly, a piece of rock fell, as if it was about to collapse. Regarding this, the system did not have any estimation. Cracks appeared on the surface of the palace, but it did not break. For a moment, the system was stunned. Then, its expression froze. This time, it increased its strength. If the system was not afraid of returning this place with a full force punch, it would have used its strength. It increased its strength and punched the cracks in front of it. Fast, accurate, ruthless, clean and crisp. There was no hesitation. Boom, bang, suddenly, a fist landed. With a bang, gravel flew in all directions. A square hole appeared. The square hole was not very deep. It was only the width of an arm. In this square hole, there was a box that could be held with one hand. Please let it be what I want. Seeing that it was a box, the system hesitated for a moment. After praying in its heart, it reached out and grabbed the box. Just as it was about to grab the box, the system gave up the control of the body and returned it to Lin Rei. Phew, returning to the physical body, his body was full of fatigue and pain. Regarding this, Lin Rei was very clear. This was because his strength was too weak and could not bear the powerful cultivation of the system. Thus, it caused the sequelae. Kid, open the box. At this moment, the system spoke. Oh. Responding, he endured the fatigue and pain in his body. His gaze fell on the box. There was no prohibition, no seal, and not even a chain. Regarding this, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he reached out and opened the box. Boom, suddenly, the moment the box was opened, a wave of soul force rushed to his face. Suddenly. Lin Li had been somewhat tired and in pain, but as soon as he sensed this dense spiritual energy, all of the side effects he had felt were alleviated somewhat. But when Lin Li looked inside the box, he didn't see any of the glittering treasures that Lin Li had imagined. All he saw was a shriveled, flower-like object. What is this? Soul loss. Hearing Lin Rei's question, the system said. Soul loss? What is it for? It seems like there is a strong soul force in it. Lin Rei did not understand the soul loss. He had never heard of it. It was not that he was ignorant. Even if he was a supreme alchemist, he did not know the use of this soul loss. Little dragon, now what the little dragon lacks the most is the soul loss. Use this soul loss to awaken the little dragon. I can't always follow you here. I still have to organize my memories. Maybe I can remember something? Chapter 836. This can wake up the little dragon? Surprised. Lin Rei's face was filled with excitement after hearing the system's words. Lin Rei had always felt that he owed the little dragon a lot. Every time, it was because the little dragon had saved him. Lin Rei had always been inquiring about the elixirs that could restore soul shock. But, for such a long time, he had been cultivating in the ancient corpse burial ground and various other places. Although he asked 36 and the others to help him search, but, yes, the soul morning can indeed revive the little dragon. However, this is only to revive it. If you want to restore it, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. The system's words were filled with helplessness. Although the soul morning can solve the little dragon's problem, it will only be temporary. It can only help the little dragon to recover, but its body will be very weak. Within 100 years, if you can't find a treasure to restore soul shock, then, the consequences will be very serious. This is another drawback of the soul morning. Since it gives you hope, if you don't grasp it, then the final outcome will only be what you don't want to see the most. After listening to the system's explanation, Lin Li, who had decided to use the soul morning, suddenly hesitated. He was afraid. He was afraid that if he couldn't find a treasure to restore soul shock within 100 years, then the little dragon would be in danger. Lin Rei had always been known for his decisiveness in other matters. Even when he killed someone, he wouldn't even blink. But, when it came to the little dragon, Lin Rei didn't dare. He was afraid. He was afraid that he would lose the little dragon, who was both a teacher and a friend. Although he was cheated along the way, it was mostly because the little dragon fell into a coma again and again because of him. How about it? You can decide for yourself. Anyway, I've already told you about it. You can think about it yourself. If you've made up your mind, just call me. However, you have to be quick, or I'm afraid that I'll enter a state of recovery. If that's the case, then the little dragon can only rely on Gu Jun's corpse to recover. After saying that, it shut up and Lin Rei took the initiative to cut off the connection with the system. In response, Lin Rei was stunned. With a thought, he put the soul of demise in his hand into his storage ring. The question of whether or not to use soul's demise to restore the little dragon became a dilemma for Lin Rei. Sigh. He sighed, and his face was filled with hesitation, disappointment, helplessness, and powerlessness. Plop, in the next moment, Lin Rei's body went limp and fell backward, sitting on the ground. If it weren't for his two hands supporting him subconsciously, his head would have hit the ground. Should I use soul demise on the little dragon? He wanted to use it, but he was afraid that if he didn't inject soul power into the little dragon in time, it would cause him more serious and irreparable damage. For a moment, the entire space fell into silence. No one spoke, and even the sound of breathing was so soft that if one didn't listen carefully, they wouldn't be able to hear it at all. Just like that, time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. In this half a day, Lin Rei thought about a lot of things. However, just now, Lin Rei made up his mind. Use it. 100 years. It seems that time will be tight again. After saying that, Lin Rei's expression was firm. He then opened his mouth and said to the system, inject soul's demise into the little dragon to recover. As for finding a treasure that can replenish soul power within 100 years, I think I should have no problem. Well, I've been waiting for you to say that. Ha ha ha. The system laughed. Hearing this, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. However, after thinking about it, his personality was obvious. Okay, hurry up, he was anxious to see the little dragon, so he urged the system. He really wanted to see how the little dragon would react when it woke up and saw such a change in him. Okay. Hearing Lin Rei's urgency, the system said, just wait. The little dragon has been asleep for a long time, so even if you use Soul's demise, it will take some time, so, understood. Take your time. Just let the little dragon do it. I'm not in a hurry. Of course, even though he said he wasn't in a hurry, when he heard the system say that, Lin Rei's heart couldn't help but clench. Okay. I'm going to start. Don't come looking for me during this time. The system replied, oh right, the teleportation portal is already in your storage basket. Okay, go ahead. Lin Rei nodded and didn't say anything else. The disappointment from before had disappeared and was swept away. Hee, little dragon, you bastard. When you wake up, I'll make sure you die of disgust. As he said that, an evil smile appeared on his face. It's time to leave. Looking at the empty hall around him, he stood up and patted the dirt off his butt. Then, he slowly walked out of the hall. All of you, gather here quickly. I'll give you 10 breaths. If you don't arrive within 10 breaths, you'll be punished by the Ministry of Justice. Suddenly, his consciousness rushed out and covered the entire area where Jianghu Sect was. He then transmitted a message to Bai Qi and the rest who were searching for treasures in Jianghu Sect. Young master. Within Jianghu Sect, the few people who were searching for treasures suddenly stopped in their tracks. Their faces changed and were filled with shock. However, they quickly regained their senses and found the right direction. With a leap, they rushed towards the sect at full speed. Swoosh, his speed was so fast that it was as if he was a swan crossing a stream. With a thunderous roar, he disappeared into the horizon. That's pretty fast. Within the range of Lin Rei's consciousness, even though Bai Qi and the rest were moving at an incredible speed, Lin Rei could still see them clearly. With a single glance, he could clearly see their figures. Looking at Bai Qi and the rest who were rushing towards him, Lin Rei smiled. He then took a step forward and arrived at the entrance of the palace in an instant. I've been out for a while now. If Xie Feng knows what I'm doing, I'm afraid. Lin Rei arrived at the entrance of the palace and could already see the situation outside. He couldn't help but think of Xie Feng. However, this thought gave Lin Rei a headache. He could already imagine how terrible Xie Feng's face would be when she found out. See. His body trembled and he shook his head vigorously. No, I can't let Xie Feng know about this. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time in the future. Luckily, Xie Feng brought Ling out of the sect. Otherwise, whoosh, whoosh, just as Lin Rei was deep in thought, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard. In an instant, 6 figures landed in front of Lin Rei. Greetings, young master. Their voices weren't loud, but their auras were extremely powerful. Furthermore, their faces were filled with respect. Not bad. When he came back to his senses and saw Bai Qi and the others arrive, Lin Rei couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. He said, not bad. I gave you 10 breaths of time, but you didn't even use it. You only took 6 breaths of time to arrive. Not bad, you deserve praise. Whoosh, after saying that, several streams of light instantly rushed out, rushing towards the 6 people respectively. Thank you, young master. They didn't refuse and stretched out their hands to receive them. Then, they lowered their heads to look at them. Storage rings? At that moment, the 6 people were holding none other than the countless storage rings that they had. Looking at the storage rings in their hands, they were stunned. They looked up at Lin Rei in confusion, as if to ask, young master, what do you mean by this? Take them. Understanding the intentions of Bai Qi and the others, Lin Li explained, these are the treasures that I picked out for you guys from the Jianghu sect. Take them. Who knows, maybe in the future, you guys might take on a disciple or something. Don't be afraid that you don't have anything to show off. If that happens, people might think that I have mistreated you guys. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Their expressions were strange, but, at the same time, they were filled with joy. After all, they were Lin Rei's subordinates. If they didn't get Lin Rei's permission to take in a disciple, they would definitely not allow it. Of course, this was also the power of the system. After all, even though they weren't taught by Lin Rei, they were still given by the system. Alright, it's just a few things. With your strength, it's time to find a disciple. This will also help the Xuanzong sect attract new blood, right? Yes, we understand. Everyone nodded. Oh, right. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Lin Rei smiled. However, he suddenly thought of something and said, "That's right, you can take in a disciple, but there must be a condition." "Young master, please speak." "We will definitely comply." Nodding his head, he said, "You can take in a disciple, but you must look at their character. Even if your disciple is not strong, he must have a good character. Otherwise," at this point, Lin Rei's eyes dimmed. This was because when he said this, Lin Rei couldn't help but think of the time when he was surrounded in the celestial realm. Yes, we understand. Bai Qi and the others naturally knew about Lin Rei's strange expression. Among them, Hong Lian saw Lin Rei's dimmed expression and immediately understood the reason. Sigh. It seems that young master has not recovered from his injuries. Madam, you are so lucky to have young master's love. Hong Lian couldn't help but feel envious. Young master, now we are going to. Just as Hong Lian was in a daze, Kuei Gang broke the silence. Return to the sect. Looking at Kagang, Linli laughed, then continued, "The cosmic sect has been destroyed, and I've taken all of the natural treasures of the cosmic sect. There's nothing left here that I can't leave behind. Thus, it's time to go back." "Yes, we accept your orders." Everyone saluted, then came to stand behind Linli. They stood there respectfully, not saying anything else. Ignoring Bai Qi and the others, Zhao Fu took out the teleportation channel that he had bought for 3 million gold coins. A trace of spirit qi flowed into the teleportation channel and Zhao Fu threw it forward. Following this, the teleportation channel, which was originally the size of a palm, started to expand as soon as Lin Rei threw it out. 3 meters. 6 meters, only when the teleportation channel reached 15 meters did it stop, and a blue light shot into the sky. At this moment, Bai Qi and the others came back to their senses and couldn't help but laugh when they saw this. Teleportation channel, I used this channel to come here. Otherwise, how could I have reached here in such a short time? After saying that, she smiled and took a step forward. In an instant, she arrived at the center of the teleportation array. She turned around and waved her hand at Bai Qi and the others, who were still standing there. "Come here." Whoosh! Without any hesitation, everyone's figures flashed, and they instantly arrived behind Linli's body. "Ah, let's go." Seeing that everything was ready, Lin Rei clasped his hands together and formed a series of strange seals. His speed became faster and faster, to the point where no one could see him clearly. Finally, Lin Rei's hands stopped. Rumble! Suddenly, in the instant that Linli's hand seals came to a halt, the ground began to tremble. At this moment, the blue light suddenly began to shine brightly, and a mysterious, devouring aura emanated from it. "Let's go." Lin Rei shouted and waved his left hand. The teleportation channel was activated, and the blue light shone brightly. In the next moment, Lin Rei and the others disappeared from the mystic arch. At the same time, in the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect on Sky Dragon Mountain, a group of beautiful young men and women were cultivating. Suddenly, the spirit energy in the air became chaotic. What's going on? A young man, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His face was full of doubt. This was the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect. If the spirit energy here was chaotic, it would not be seen in the Xuanzong sect. Hua, under the gaze of the young man, a blue light appeared not far from the lake. At first, it was just a needle's eye, but as time passed, the blue light grew bigger and bigger. It only stopped growing when it was about 15 meters wide. That's. The moment the blue light appeared, a few black figures appeared in the blue light. The sharp-eyed young man was stunned. Suddenly, a look of joy appeared on his face. Xianyuan, why, are you so happy to see your master? At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were standing in the blue light. The young man standing outside the blue light was not a person. He was Lin Rei's third disciple, Lin Xianyuan. Master, I. Hearing this familiar voice, Lin Xianyuan wanted to say something, but he realized that he could not say anything. He could only stop. Looking at his third brother's expression, Lin Rei liked him more and more. The blue light dissipated, and everyone's figures landed on Lin Xuanyuan's body. Then, they stepped out of the teleportation channel and arrived in front of Lin Xianyuan. Go and do what you need to do. After walking out of the teleportation channel, Lin Xianyuan ignored Lin Xianyuan and said to Bai Qi and the others. Chapter 837. Asterisk whoosh whoosh, asterisk Bai Qi and the others, who were originally in front of Lin Rei, heard Lin Rei's order and rushed out, disappearing in front of everyone's eyes. As for Lin Li, he continued to watch Bai Qi and the others disappear into the horizon. Only after they had completely disappeared from Lin Li's field of vision did Lin Li retract his gaze and turn. Asterisk plop, asterisk as he turned around, he saw Lin Xianyuan kneeling on the ground. His face was full of excitement, as if something had happened. You. What's wrong? Lin Rei didn't understand. Normally, he didn't see Xianyuan with such an expression. Although he didn't spend much time with them, he knew them very well. He knew Xuanyuan's personality better, so when he saw the excited smile on Xuanyuan's face, Lin Rei was stunned. Master, I don't want to stay in the sect. I want to leave with you. Oh. Hearing these words, Lin Li was startled for a moment. Then, with an amused smile on his face, he asked, why do you suddenly want to leave with me? Isn't it better to stay here? Xianyuan stuttered. Looking at his master in front of him, he was stunned. He then said, yes, it's good to stay here, but I don't want to stay in the sect all the time. Although I can improve my cultivation here, I feel that I'm not the same as before. I feel that my Taoist foundation is a lot weaker. Moreover, I feel that my speed of improvement has slowed down recently. It was as if he had spilled out his thoughts, and his whole body relaxed in an instant. However, at this moment, after hearing Xuanyuan's words, Lin Rei came back to his senses and smiled. His smile was full of gratification and appreciation. He had been worried about this problem for a long time, so he had planned to take them with him this time. He didn't expect Xianyuan to bring it up himself. Of course, although he had planned before, now that Xianyuan had said it himself, it was different. This meant that Xianyuan knew his shortcomings and the drawbacks of his cultivation. Do you agree? Xianyuan asked timidly, looking up at his master. Lin Rei didn't respond to Xuanyuan's words. He just looked at him with a smile. Xianyuan was startled, and a flash of disappointment appeared in his eyes. Sigh. It seems like, I agree. At this moment, Lin Rei spoke. Although his voice wasn't loud, Xianyuan Jinjin heard it in her heart. He was stunned. He had thought that there was no hope, but he didn't expect the situation to suddenly change. Now, he had agreed. Xianyuan screamed. His face was full of joy and excitement. His wish had been fulfilled. That's good. Lin Rei smiled when he saw Xianyuan acting like a child. He stroked Xuanyuan's hair and said, why aren't you getting up yet? Hearing this, Xianyuan was stunned. Then, he smiled and stood up. At this moment, Lin Rei's voice sounded again. Oh, you. I'm very gratified that you're able to realize this. Originally, I wanted to see your strength, but when I came back, I found that even though your cultivation bases have increased, your foundation is weak and weak. You're a very ordinary cultivator, so I changed my mind and decided to take you with me when I left. I didn't expect, Hearing this, Xianyuan smiled bitterly. Master, you've already decided to take us with you, Xianyuan said. Yes. Lin Rei looked at Xianyuan and replied, I did want to take you with me, but it's not the same as you bringing it up yourself. Looking at your ability to comprehend, perhaps in the future, your achievements will be greater than those of your two senior brothers and sisters. As he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Lin Wanyu and the others, who were still cultivating with their eyes closed. Looking at them, Lin Rei was worried. Sigh. I hope you can work harder, or else. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up with me. Lin Rei shook his head and put this matter to the back of his mind. He retracted his gaze and looked at Xianyuan with a strange expression. Let's go. Accompany me for a walk. When I'm done, I'll bring something back from the Jianghu sect and give it to you. Yes, master. Of course, Xianyuan was happy. However, compared to this, Xianyuan wanted to go out and gain experience, especially with Lin Rei. After all, he had Lin Rei's guidance. He believed that his strength would return to its peak, or even be stronger than before. Let's go. Xianyuan turned his head and walked slowly towards the depths of the secret territory without looking at Lin Wanyu and the others. To be honest, although the palace of the Xuanzong sect was built by him, and the secret territory was built by him, he wasn't very familiar with the secret territory. When he first built it, he only built rooms on the periphery. As for the depths, he didn't really go around. Just like that, the two of them walked in silence towards the depths of the secret territory. On the way, neither of them spoke, as if they couldn't find anything to talk about. As for Xianyuan, he followed behind Linli. He was silent, but his face was no longer gloomy. Instead, it was full of smiles and sunshine. Coupled with his youthful appearance, Xianyuan looked like a sunny boy. He was very handsome. Xianyuan, do you know why I gave you this name? Suddenly, Lin Rei broke the silence. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Xianyuan recovered from his joy and looked at Lin Rei blankly. In my world, there used to be an emperor. His name was Xianyuan, and he was a great hero. He was blessed with the aura of an emperor, and he was very powerful. If we were to classify him according to the levels of cultivation, I'm afraid, he was already in the realm of saints in my world. Hiss. Hearing this, Xianyuan, who was standing behind Linli, felt a wave of shock in his heart. Especially when he heard the word saint, emperor's blessing. Hee. Seeing the strange look on Xuanyuan's face, Lin Rei smiled and continued, of course, this is only a legend in my world. I don't know the specifics. I've said so much because I want to say that in the future, you must work harder in your cultivation. Although you won't be able to benefit the world, at least you can't be a bloodthirsty demon. Do you understand? Yes, master, your disciple understands. Xianyuan nodded, his face full of seriousness and determination. Your disciple will work harder in the future, and become a saint. Not bad, not bad. Looking at Xianyuan, Lin Rei's smile grew wider. Alright, I'll give you something. Although its level is a bit low, when I reach the saint level, I'll give you something better. What do you think? As he spoke, a golden light shone from Lin Rei's hand. Suddenly, Xianyuan opened his eyes, and the golden light pierced his eyes. He immediately closed his eyes. Looking at Xuanyuan's current state, Lin Rei smiled and said, when this sword was forged, the 9-clawed golden dragon was attached to it, and the aura of an emperor filled the air. When I saw this, I merged it with the dragon's vein, and then this sword was forged. As he spoke, he grabbed the hilt of the sword and the scabbard with his other hand. Clang! A deafening sound of the sword rang out. This sword. Destiny Xianyuan. I named it after you. Its level is not high, only at the pre-saint level. Don't worry, after I refine it for you, it will definitely reach the saint level. Xianyuan. Xianyuan sword? At this moment, Xianyuan opened his eyes and stared blankly at the sword in front of him. His expression was full of excitement and passion. Yes, Xianyuan's sword. Seeing Xuanyuan's expression, Lin Rei knew that Xianyuan liked the sword very much. He then pushed the sword forward again and said, "Take this." At this moment, the sword and scabbard were separated, and the two appearances of the sword were completely exposed in front of Xianyuan. The sword was 3 feet long and shone with a golden light. In the golden light, there seemed to be a golden dragon swimming in it. Xianyuan could feel the infinite sword chi coming from the sword. The scabbard was very beautiful. There were a few 9-clawed golden dragons carved on it, and at the top of the scabbard, the word Xianyuan was very eye-catching. "Xianyuan, are you my sword?" Xianyuan said to himself as he reached out his hand to grab the sword. The moment Xuanyuan's hand was about to touch the sword, a terrifying sword chi rushed out and bounced Xuanyuan's hand away. Hiss. This scene made Xianyuan gasp. His face was full of shock. "How, right now, you are not its master?" Also. Seeing the confusion on his third disciple's face, Linley explained, "A quasi-saint artifact is not that easy to obtain. Thus, if you want it to acknowledge you, you have to use all of your strength and integrity to suppress it and subdue it for your own use." Hearing this, Xianyuan was stunned. However, he quickly came back to his senses. His previous doubts were swept away, and in the blink of an eye, there was only endless fighting spirit left in his eyes. He wanted to subdue the Xianyuan sword. "Oh, go ahead." Seeing his third disciple's fighting spirit, Lin Rei smiled and stabbed the Xianyuan sword into the ground. The moment the sword touched the ground, it was like cutting through tofu. Lin Rei stabbed it into the ground without any pressure. After doing all this, Lin Rei stepped aside and smiled, "Little guy, now it's up to you. Whether you can subdue it or not depends on your ability. Of course, if you don't have the ability to subdue it, I will seal it." Then, without waiting for the third disciple to reply, he took a step forward and instantly appeared 1,000 meters away. He found a good place to watch the show. With a thought, he took out a rocking chair and a few fruits. Then, he lay down on the rocking chair and ate the fruits comfortably while watching the show. He was having a good time. No way. Xianyuan saw Lin Rei's actions at the moment. Seeing his master like this, Xianyuan was stunned and the corner of his mouth twitched. He didn't look at Xianyuan's sword for a long time. Then, he looked away and fixed his eyes on the Xianyuan sword. "Humph, you're destined to be mine." Xianyuan looked at the Xianyuan sword in the ground. His face was filled with hatred. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the Xianyuan sword. He immediately revolved his cultivation and condensed spiritual qi in his hand. Then, he grabbed the hilt of the sword. In order to prevent the Xianyuan sword from attacking, Xianyuan's sword released the pressure of a great emperor and suppressed it. "You want to play with me? You're still too young." Xianyuan's sword's heart relaxed a little. Then, he moved his hand again. The sound of a sword humming filled the air. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others, who were far away in the outskirts of the pocket dimension, heard the humming of a sword. Instantly, they opened their eyes, and a bright light flashed in their pupils. Their faces were filled with puzzlement. What's going on? How can there be such a strong sword chi in the mysterious territory? Who could it be? Lin Wanyu looked around. Huh? Where's Xianyuan? At that moment, Lin Wanyu realized that Lin Xianyuan, her third fellow disciple, had disappeared. Her other fellow disciples were all there. At this moment, Cullen and the others woke up as well. They were all awakened by the sword hum. Eldest sister, such a strong sword chi appeared in the mysterious territory. Should we go and take a look? At that moment, Karen said. His face was filled with excitement. That's right, eldest sister. At that moment, Jiang Yuan added, after all, this is the mysterious territory. It's our master's home. There's nothing wrong with going and taking a look, right? When she heard the two of them talking like this, Lin Wanyu also wanted to go and take a look. Thus, she looked at the two of them, and finally nodded. All right, since my two junior brothers have said so, if I don't go, then it would be my fault as the eldest senior sister. Then, she stood up and rushed towards the sound of the sword. She was so fast that she disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing how fast their eldest sister was, everyone was stunned. Then, they laughed bitterly and stood up to follow Lin Wanyu. At that moment, Xianyuan, who was subduing the Xianyuan sword, didn't know that his actions had awakened Lin Wanyu and the others. My strength? Do you think it's possible? At that moment, Xuanyuan's hand was still some distance away from the sword hilt. However, he hadn't used his full strength yet. His hand stopped there, unable to move forward. Mysterious ice strength, break for me. With a low roar, a terrifying cold energy rushed out from Xianyuan's body. Following the appearance of the mysterious ice strength, Xianyuan, who was originally a middle-stage god emperor, had his cultivation increased by 2 minor levels at this moment, reaching the peak of late-stage god emperor realm. The sword chi that had been blocking Xuanyuan's attack broke apart the moment the mysterious ice force appeared. It was being eaten away by Xuanyuan's mysterious ice force. Chapter 838. Hee, interesting. When did this brat learn such a skill? Using his own spiritual energy to condense an extremely cold force to suppress the sword chi of the Xianyuan sword. TSK. This brat's comprehension ability is simply, in the distance, Linli, who was lying on a rocking chair, had been paying attention to Xuanyuan's situation. His face was full of relief, especially when Xianyuan used the ice force. Linli's eyes lit up. It could be seen that the ice force was an extremely powerful method. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caught Xuanyuan's attention, let alone be able to suppress the Xianyuan sword chi. Lin Rei naturally knew how terrifying the Xianyuan sword was. However, Lin Rei was also very happy about the ice force. After all, such a powerful method wasn't easy to obtain. Perhaps, Suddenly, Xuanyuan's hand had already grasped the hilt of the Xianyuan sword. However, the moment he grasped the hilt, his face suddenly changed and turned pale. This sword chi is too. At this moment, Xianyuan was very depressed. He thought that by grasping the hilt and using some strength, he would be able to subdue the sword, but, the moment he grasped the hilt, Xuanyuan's imagination completely changed. A golden sword chi instantly rushed into his hand, then spread from his arm to his upper body. As time passed, the sword chi spread to his entire body. Feeling the sword chi rushing into his body and flowing through his meridians, Xuanyuan's face suddenly changed and was full of fear. Meridians were very important to everyone, whether they were ordinary people or cultivators. If there was a problem with his meridians, then, he couldn't help but spit out the blood in his throat. His face became even paler. Oh no, this guy entered my Dan palace. Feeling the direction of the sword chi, Xuanyuan's face changed and he smiled bitterly. Beasts of the 4 symbols, seal all directions. Dan palace as the main, spiritual chi as the auxiliary, meridians as the lock, seal. Suddenly, Xianyuan used his own meridians, Dan palace, and spiritual chi as the foundation to seal the sword chi that had entered his Dan palace. At this moment, Xianyuan had no other choice. He thought it would be very easy, but he didn't expect this to happen. It could be said that, it was a moment of carelessness. After all, he did not expect the golden sword chi to be so powerful. Moreover, he had also underestimated the Xianyuan sword. After all, it was refined by Lin Rei using the illusory spirit blood fire and fused with the dragon vein, alas. In the distance, Lin Rei was very clear about Xuanyuan's situation. He also knew that Xianyuan had used a sealing technique and that the golden sword chi had entered his Dan palace. Regarding this, Lin Rei couldn't help but sigh. However, this was enough. After all, the Xianyuan sword was refined by him. He knew how powerful it was. A weapon of sage to be was no joke. Forget it. I thought I didn't have to do anything, but it seems. Lin Rei shook his head, stood up, and stepped forward. In an instant, he was behind Shenyuan. He activated his cultivation and poured spiritual power into his right hand. He instantly used the devouring heaven technique and stuck it to Xuanyuan's back. Don't be distracted. The technique I am using now is a little special. It is a devouring technique, so it may be a little uncomfortable and painful. Remember, stay true to your heart and protect your spiritual altar. Don't be careless. Otherwise, even I can guarantee your safety. Shenyuan, who was originally in a daze and didn't know what to do, suddenly heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, his body trembled and he nodded inadvertently. After the transmission, Shenyuan followed Lin Rei's instructions. He stayed true to his heart, protected his spiritual altar, and looked inside himself. It begins. Sensing Xuanyuan's appearance, Lin Rei's face suddenly became serious and nervous. At this moment, Lin Rei had to be very careful with Shenyuan. After all, the golden sword Qi was in Xuanyuan's Dan Palace. Whoosh, whoosh, suddenly, the atmosphere around them became heavy. In the secret territory, there was a gust of wind. In response, a terrifying devouring power appeared in Lin Rei's right hand and entered Xuanyuan's body. Whoosh, whoosh, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Several figures quickly rushed over from afar. In the blink of an eye, they had already arrived not far from where Lin Rei was. When they landed on the ground, their eyes fell on Lin Rei. When they saw the situation between Lin Rei and Shenyuan, and the long sword that they had stabbed in front of Shenyuan, they suddenly seemed to understand something. However, when they saw Xuanyuan's pale face, their faces changed and they were filled with worry. It seems that Master gave the sword to third junior brother to refine, but it seems that something went wrong. The person who spoke was none other than Lin Wanyu and the others who had sensed the shocking sword Qi and came to find them. Yes, and the sword's aura is so strong. Even from afar, I can feel the sword Qi rushing out from the long sword. Such a weapon is really a supreme treasure. Yes, that's right. The Emperor's aura is hidden in the long sword. It seems that Master thinks highly of third junior brother. One by one, they began to discuss their own opinions. Of course, although they said so, there was no trace of greed on their faces. Of course, there was envy. After all, who wouldn't want such a powerful weapon? Alright, let's stop talking. Since Master gave it to third junior brother, it means that his cultivation is stronger than the three of us. So, let's not be lazy in the future. Of course, the most important thing for us now is to protect Master and third junior brother. Although this is the secret territory of the Xuanzong sect, since Master has used the devouring sky technique, it means that third junior brother's situation is very serious. So, we can't let them have the slightest bit of trouble. As she spoke, she turned her head to look at Estranged and the others. Go, each of you guard a corner. Now, Master and junior brother are the most powerful. If anyone comes close, if they don't stop, kill. Yes, we understand. We will follow senior sister's orders. At this moment, seeing Lin Wanyu's serious expression, everyone knew that the situation was serious. Then, with a sound, they disappeared instantly. When they reappeared, they were already at the four corners with Lin Rei as the center according to Lin Wanyu's instructions. They sat down cross-legged and began to guard the two of them. Oh, this group of little guys. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was removing the golden sword Qi for Shenyuan, smiled. Lin Rei heard the actions of Lin Wanyu and the others and their words very clearly. He also knew what they were doing at this moment. Seeing them like this, Lin Rei relaxed. Then, he focused all his energy on removing the golden sword Qi. In an instant, his consciousness entered into Xuanyuan's body. Looking at the golden sword Qi that was sealed by the meridians in his Dantian palace, Lin Rei smiled. TSK. This formation is a little interesting. It can even seal with the meridians. Ha! Lin Li was startled by Xianyuan Ziliu's sealing formation, and a hint of interest appeared on his face. And then, he paid it no more attention, focusing all of his attention on the sword key. Looking at it, Lin Rei said, "Little thing, I want you to become Little Third's weapon, not to hurt him. I'll give you 2 choices." As if it understood Lin Rei's words, the golden sword suddenly trembled. "First, become my disciple's weapon and help him condense the seed of the sword heart. Then, he can make you the pinnacle divine weapon in this world. Second, I'll erase your spiritual intelligence. Then, I'll let Little Third refine you. I believe this should be the most efficient method. I'll give you 2 choices. Remember, I'm giving you a chance. Don't take my efforts for granted. Do you understand?" Suddenly, after hearing Lin Rei's words, the golden sword chi began to tremble violently. The golden light, which had dimmed because of the seal, suddenly shone brightly. It seemed to be resisting, but also seemed to be making a difficult choice. Lin Rei didn't act in time. After all, if the golden sword chi was allowed to condense the seed of the sword heart, then Xuanyuan's path of the sword would be smooth and smooth. So, time passed little by little. The golden light was still bright and dazzling. In this regard, Lin Rei waited patiently. Lin Rei didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, the golden light disappeared. A small sword, which was the same as Xuanyuan's sword, appeared in front of Lin Rei. Looking at the appearance of the small sword, Lin Rei smiled. Seeing the small sword like this, Lin Rei already knew his answer. "How is it? Have you thought about that choice?" Although he knew, he still wanted to hear it with his own ears. Suddenly, the small sword trembled. Circles of golden ripples came from the small sword. "I choose the first choice. I'll condense the seed of the sword heart and become Xuanyuan's sword." Suddenly, a young voice rang out. After hearing it, the smile on Lin Li's face grew even wider. "I knew long ago that you had formed a sword spirit. I thought that you would be able to hide for a long time. I didn't expect that you would finally show yourself." As the refiner of the Xianyuan sword, Lin Li naturally knew about the Xianyuan sword very well. Therefore, when he heard this tender voice, Lin Li was naturally not too surprised. You refined me," but the sword spirit wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Lin Rei halfway through the painting. "Well, let's not talk about anything else. My time is limited. Hurry up and start condensing the seed of the sword heart. I wanted to help little Sanzi devour you. Since you agreed, then the devouring heaven's end is useless." After saying that, the devouring heaven's end disappeared instantly. "You." Hearing this, the sword spirit was startled. He naturally knew about the devouring heaven's end. Of course, he also heard about it from other weapon spirits in the system. "Little guy, hurry up and get started. I'll leave first." As he spoke, Lin Li turned around and was about to leave. However, as he turned around, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and continued, Remember that the sword spirit at the quasi-saint level is not allowed to condense any mediocre sword heart seeds. When the time comes, I will check. If it does not meet my requirements, then I will be very angry." After saying that, Lin Rei, who was in the Xianyuan Pill mansion, disappeared instantly and returned to his original body. "Little Sanzi, I'll leave the rest to you. I've already told the sword spirit of the Xianyuan sword. He knows what to do." Lin Rei, who had returned to his original body, said to Xianyuan. "Yes, master, I understand." Xianyuan nodded, his heart full of gratitude. "Well, okay, I'll leave first." After saying that, he didn't want to disturb Xianyuan anymore. Boom! As Lin Li retreated explosively, a terrifying surge of sword energy suddenly shot out from him. At this moment, in the Xianyuan Pill mansion, the sword spirit that had been sealed by Xianyuan had been released by Xianyuan. A small sword stood in the Pill mansion. In an instant, the small sword began to spin quickly. It was so fast that it was impossible to see through it. I, the sword spirit of the Xianyuan sword, am willing to serve Xianyuan as my master. I condense the seed of the sword heart here for you to use. You can break the world with your sword heart, a young voice sounded in Xuanyuan's mind. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi began to fill Xuanyuan's body. Every inch of his skin, every cell, and every bone began to harden under the sword spirit's refinement. Even his meridians became the target of the sword spirit's refinement. Even his spiritual chi was no exception. Oh, it seems that little Sanzi will break through to the divine master level after this. Feeling the changes in Xianyuan, Lin Rei's heart was full of joy. After all, it was a good thing that one of his disciples had broken through to the divine master level. The student had surpassed the master. This was something that Lin Li naturally felt gratified about. Little girl. Hurry up and leave. This is no longer a place for you to stay. This place will be full of sword chi. You don't have a place to stay. Hurry up and leave. Looking at the 4 disciples guarding the 4 corners of the room, Lin Li smiled and said to them, "Let's go." Yes. Hearing Lin Rei's order, Lin Wanyu and the others opened their eyes and looked at Lin Xianyuan, who was full of sword chi. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, they couldn't help but be shocked. If they were to compete with Lin Xianyuan now, none of them would be a match for him. The sword chi condensed around him was too powerful. Let's go. Of course, after the shock, they were all happy. After all, such a powerful person was their senior brother and junior brother. They could only be proud of him. Whoosh, in a flash, they retreated to a place where the sword chi couldn't reach. Finally, they all came to Lin Rei's side and stood there without saying a word. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Little guys, when little Sanzi comes out, he will probably break through to the divine master level." You, what? That much? Chapter 839. Hearing Lin Rei's words, everyone was shocked and their faces were full of shock. They had not expected Lin Rei to improve his cultivation by so much. Of course, they had thought about improving their cultivation, but they had not expected it to improve so much. Yes, or else it would not be so difficult to condense the seed of the sword heart. Looking at the astonished disciples, Lin Li smiled and continued, "All of you, you have to work hard in the future. This time, when I leave, I will take you with me. You have to be prepared." "Ah, really, Master?" "Yes. Master, will you really take us with you when you leave this time? You are not lying, are you?" At this time, a few of them were exclaiming. Some of them did not believe it, but some of them were really surprised. After all, if they could follow Lin Rei, the speed of their cultivation would be greatly increased. Looking at the various expressions on their faces, Lin Rei nodded and smiled. "Of course, after I leave this time, I may not come back. So, get ready. Tell your friends and relatives that when Xiao Sanzi comes out of seclusion, we will leave and go to the 9th state." "Yes, we will do as you say." Looking at the serious look on their master's face, everyone understood that their master was serious this time. They were very happy about it. "Well, go ahead. There is nothing for you to do here." Nodding his head, he waved his hand and asked them to leave. Regarding this, without any hesitation, they nodded their heads and rushed out of the sect. Alas! I hope I can help you this time. Looking at the disciples leaving, Lin Rei sighed and shook his head. Then, he threw some annoying things to the back of his mind. Looking at the distance where the seed of the sword heart was being condensed, he smiled and closed his eyes. Then, he entered the system with his divine thought. Just like that, time passed quickly like a white steed flitting across a crevice. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. During these 3 years, the Xuanzong sect was peaceful. However, there were 2 people who were particularly worried. Lin Yun and his daughter, Lin Ling. 3 years ago, after Lin Li told Lin Wanyu that he was leaving, the first thing Lin Yun wanted to do was to go find his father and ask Lin Li about it. In fact, he also wanted to leave this Xuanzong sect, which was like a cage that imprisoned him. He wanted to follow his father. Unfortunately, when Lin Rei entered the secret land, he saw that Lin Rei was resting with his eyes closed, so he did not disturb him. As for Lin Ling, one day in the second year of Lin Rei's seclusion, Lin Ling, was brought back to the sect by Xie Feng. In just 1 year, Lin Ling, who was originally in the Immortal Emperor realm, returned to the peak of the late Divine General realm. Even her father, Lin Yun, could not help but click his tongue at such a cultivation speed. Lin Ling, who was originally happy, returned to the sect and wanted to see her grandfather, whom she had not seen for a long time. However, she was stopped by Lin Yun, who told her that Lin Rei had left. In response, Xie Feng, who was standing to the side, frowned and disappeared in an instant. After entering the secret land, just like Lin Rei, she disappeared without a trace and did not appear again. From that moment on, the secret land was sealed and no one could enter. Lin Yun was helpless about this. As for Lin Wanyu and the others, they had been in a state of preparation and cultivation for the past 3 years. In the past 3 years, Lin Wanyu and the others had not dared to slack off in their cultivation. Because of Xianyuan, everyone felt a sense of urgency, especially Lin Wanyu, who was the eldest senior sister. She did not want to lose to her junior brother in terms of cultivation. Therefore, in the past 3 years, Lin Wanyu was the one who worked the hardest. During these 3 years, those who had been sent out by Lin Li to shock and awe the 8 prefectures of the divine realm returned to their sects on the 2nd year. During the year they had been gone, they had gone to all of the major sects in the 8 prefectures of the divine realm, using their power to shock and awe them. In response, those sects who were intimidated could only be said to be angry but did not dare to say anything. How could they have thought that someone would dare to provoke their sect? Moreover, after being provoked, they could not retaliate and could only nod and agree. However, it had to be said that this group of peak ultimate gods was very reliable. In just a year, they had completed the task assigned to them by Lin Rei and forced them to eat the spirit control pill personally refined by Lin Rei. Regarding this, Lin Li could be said to be very relaxed. The soul-controlling pill had been improved by Lin Li, and its effects were very good. He believed that even if someone ate it raw, they would have to obediently submit to him. Boom! The originally quiet and peaceful place in the secret realm suddenly shook violently and a loud boom resounded in the secret realm. With a sword in hand, the world is mine. Ha! A loud laugh was heard, followed by arrogant words. The words were filled with dominance and confidence. Is he awake? Suddenly, in an open space, a young man who was lying on a chair heard this and suddenly woke up. He opened his eyes and a beam of light shot out into the distance. Phew! I have been in seclusion for 3 years. Although my formation realm did not improve much, my talisman realm has improved a lot. I believe that I will be able to break through to the saint realm soon. Then, the young man laughed. TSK, the alchemist has already become a saint. If I can improve my talisman realm to the saint realm before I ascend to the holy world, I will have another way to save my life. At this moment, the person who was talking to himself was none other than Lin Rei, who had been in seclusion with Xianyuan. In the past 3 years, Lin Li had been practicing as a sideline all the time. Fortunately, he had gained a lot of insights during these 3 years, and his talisman making level had risen to the sage to be level. He believed that after a period of time, he should be able to rise to the saint level. Thinking about it made him happy. His face was full of smiles when he woke up. You little punk, you finally woke up. Suddenly, a voice filled with coldness rang out, causing Lin Li's body to tremble. Xie Feng? As Xiao Chen thought about this, his neck turned mechanically to the source of the sound. He saw that the evil phoenix was sitting cross-legged on a tree branch, looking at him with interest. That. You. When did you come back? Lin Rei asked. Seeing Lin Rei like this, Xie Feng snorted coldly. Then, in a flash, she appeared in front of Lin Rei. Looking at Lin Rei, who was lying on the rocking chair, Xia Feng's face was gloomy. She said, "Little guy, you have had a good time when I was not around. You even did something like exterminating your sect?" Hearing this, Linley smiled awkwardly and muttered in his heart, F***ck, who was it? Who told her? Don't F***king let me find out. Even if it's my own son, I won't F***king let him off. Of course, that was what he thought, but he smiled and quickly explained. I was worried that you would be tired. Besides, I didn't decide on that place. I asked Bai Qi and the others to deal with it. However, something happened later, so I went. Let's leave it at that for now. Now, the most important thing is to go to the 9th state. There is something waiting for me there, so. Saying that, he glanced at Xia Feng and said, so, if you have anything else to do, hurry up and deal with it. For example, hurry up and deal with her. When little third is better, we will leave this place. I think. I won't come back here. Saying that, he was afraid that Xia Feng would bring up the previous matter. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared from Xia Feng's sight. Little bastard. Lin Rei disappeared too suddenly and Xia Feng was not prepared for it. Looking in the direction Linley had disappeared in, the evil phoenix stomped its feet angrily. A look of anger appeared on its face. It glanced in the direction Linley had left in, then sighed. Forget it, I should hurry up and tell After all, she is my only disciple. She won't be coming back in the future. Saying that, she glanced at again. Then, she used her cultivation and disappeared from the spot. At this moment, when Xia Feng left, the secret territory's seal also disappeared. I did it, early ultimate god. Early ultimate god realm, master, I did it. At this moment, in the secret territory, there was a flash of golden light. A figure was standing in the air, his face was full of excitement and his body was trembling in the air. As for the young man, he gave off a feeling of nobility, as if he was untouchable. Unknowingly, his body was emitting a massive aura that made one want to submit to him. On the young man's body, there was a faint sense of sharpness, like an unsheathed sword that would definitely draw blood. Early ultimate god, I have reached the ultimate god realm. At this moment, the young man muttered to himself. There was nothing else other than these few words. Sigh, little guy, why is your mentality so weak? Isn't it just breaking through to the ultimate god realm? You will break through even more in the future, middle stage, late stage, complete realm, and even saint realm. You can't be so excited every time, right? At this moment, a man's lazy voice came from the side. However, when he heard this voice, the young man turned around with a smile on his face. At this moment, a young man was standing beside him, looking at him with a smile. Looking at the young man, Lin Rei asked, "How do you feel?" "Master." Looking at the person who had appeared, the young man knelt on the ground and shouted excitedly, "Thank you for helping me, master. Otherwise, with my talent, I would have needed a long time to break through." "That's enough, there's no need to thank me. I am your master." Feeling the sharp sword chi on Xuanyuan's body, the young man's smile didn't fade. "All right, since you are out, let's leave. We have wasted enough time here. There are still some urgent matters waiting for me in the 9th state. Let's go." Then, without waiting for Xuanyuan's reply, he turned around and left. Seeing that his master was in such a hurry, Yuanxian didn't stay any longer. He used his footwork and immediately chased after Lin Rei. At this moment, in the meeting hall of the Xuanzong sect, a group of people had gathered. They wanted to see Lin Rei off, so they all wanted to see him off. At this moment, in the hall, there was a beautiful young woman. Her skin was smooth and her face was beautiful. She looked like a goddess who had descended from the heavens. However, there was a look of reluctance on her beautiful face. "Father, grandfather, is grandfather leaving? He just came back. I didn't even have time to see him or talk to him. Is he leaving already?" Once those words were spoken, everyone present was stunned. As for the young man who was questioned, he wanted to speak, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than the current sect leader of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Yun, and his daughter, Lin Ling. The grandfather and father they were talking about was naturally Lin Rei. Looking at his daughter, Lin Yun's face was sad. Just like Lin Ling, he was full of reluctance. Yes, your grandfather pursues the peak of the Tao. He has to improve his strength, so, sigh. With that, Lin Yun didn't continue. To be honest, he really wanted to leave everything here and follow Lin Rei. But he knew that Lin Rei wouldn't allow it. His father wouldn't allow it, so Lin Yun didn't ask for a rebuff. Oh. You're all here? However, the atmosphere suddenly grew quiet. Not long after, a voice was heard. In response to that, the crowd that heard those words all turned their heads to look. They saw two young men standing at the entrance of the hall, looking at everything with smiles on their faces. Father. Grandfather. It was none other than Lin Rei, who had walked out of the mystery realm. As for the other person, it was naturally Xian Yuan. I'm back. Looking at Lin Ling, Lin Rei smiled. Then, he came to the front of the crowd. Looking at them, Lin Rei said, "You must already know that I'm leaving this time. Perhaps when we meet again, we'll be in the holy world." What? Father, you're not coming back? Hearing Lin Rei's words, Lin Yun was shocked. He didn't think that his father would leave and not come back. Huh. Looking at the shock on his son's face, Lin Rei smiled and nodded. That's right. You don't have to be like this. I believe that we'll meet again in the holy world soon. Lin Yun wanted to say something, but looking at the current situation, he was afraid. At this moment, Lin Yun fell silent. His expression was filled with reluctance. Lin Rei sighed. He had always felt guilty towards Lin Yun. Remember. Although you're the sect master of the Xuanzong sect, you must raise your cultivation as soon as possible. I've already intimidated all the sects in the divine world for you. I believe that they won't come out to make trouble for you in the short term. Also, I'll be leaving with some of my old subordinates. Of course, I'll leave you with some resources. I'll bring them into the holy world and let them help you establish a world that can protect you. When the time comes, it'll be much easier for you to enter the holy world. Chapter 840. Father, hearing these words, everyone fell silent. As for Lin Yun, because of these words, he shed tears. The Grand Master of a powerful sect was now shedding tears. He had not expected his own father to work so hard just to give him a stable world. TSK, you brat. Looking at his son's tears, Lin Rei's heart was moved. His heart was filled with warmth. At this moment, Lin Rei felt that everything he did was worth it. Alright, you're already a few thousand years old, yet you're still crying. How can you lead the sect to prosperity like this? I'm still waiting to see you in the saints' world. As he said that, he raised his hand and patted Lin Yun's head as if he was patting a child. If the sects in the divine world were to see this scene, they would be shocked. They might even think that the world was abnormal. Although Lin Yun didn't make a move many times, it was still in everyone's heart. Lin Yun was the kind of person who didn't show any mercy to his enemies. But now, he was like a child, allowing Lin Rei to pat his head. He even revealed a look of enjoyment. Yes, I understand, father. Don't worry, I will work hard and do my best. I hope to meet you in the holy world soon. At this moment, Lin Yun's heart was filled with determination. He wanted to become an expert who could protect his father and not just let his father protect him. Looking at Lin Yun's resolute gaze, everyone couldn't help smiling as they nodded their heads. They knew that this might be the time for Lin Yun to transform. Alright, father will wait for the day when you're strong enough to protect me. I'll wait. If that's the case, I'll be able to live a peaceful life for a period of time. With a smile, he withdrew his hand. With a thought, he removed a dozen interspatial rings from the system and passed them to Lin Yun. Take this with you. Right now, the sect is in the midst of development and resources are indispensable. These are all the resources that the Jianghu sect has accumulated since its inception. I believe that with these, the sect will be able to rise to another level. Yes, I understand. Lin Yun didn't reject the dozen interspatial rings in front of him and directly accepted them. He knew that these things were indispensable if he wanted to become a powerhouse. If he wanted to chase after Lin Rui, then he had to accept these resources. As the saying goes, wealth, magic, companionship, and land. Wealth was the most important thing. Oh, right. Seeing his son accept it, Lin Rui smiled. Your uncle Tian was sent out by me to create an information sect. I don't know how he is doing after being separated for so many years. If you have time, go and find him. Find a reliable person to replace him and let him cultivate well. His talent is better than yours. Ah. Uncle Tian. Looking at Lin Rui in a daze, he said, I was wondering why I haven't seen Uncle Tian in a while. So it turns out that you were sent out by father. N. Lin Rui nodded. Then, what's the name of the sect? I'll find him too. After not seeing him for so long, I miss him. Lin Yun said with a smile. When he was in the immortal world, it was Lin Tian who sent him away. It was because of this that he had his current achievements. It was also because of that that his brother and aunt died. The Celestial Arcanum sect is usually in the form of a restaurant. As for the night, I don't know what it's like. You'll have to find out yourself. Isn't there an information department in the sect? Instruct them to search for it. This way, you'll have more time to cultivate. I understand, father. Hearing his father's arrangement, Lin Yun wasn't unhappy. After all, this sect was created by his father and he was forced to take over by Lin Rui. That's good. Seeing Lin Yun nod, Lin Rui smiled and turned to the others. Looking at them, Lin Rui said, Bai Qi and the rest will leave with me. As for Kuei Gang, you guys will stay here and guard the sect. When the sect's strength increases, you can decide to leave and enter the holy world. As for Blood 36 and the others, more than half of them are currently outside searching for natural treasures. After a period of time, we will bring them back and let the alchemists of the sect refine pills for them. At this point, the entire sect will enter closed-door cultivation. Only when all disciples have reached the late-stage God Emperor or middle-stage God Emperor realm can they come out. Do you understand? At this moment, there was nothing but excitement in everyone's hearts. Looking at Lin Rui's orders, they felt as if they had returned to the immortal world and returned to the time when Xian Tian had just founded the sect. In their bodies, a wave of boiling hot blood was lying there. They liked this feeling very much. Yes, Sect Master Lin Yun. We'll definitely bring glory to the sect and enter the holy world as soon as possible to meet you. Put on. The sound of kneeling could be heard. The people who had been standing upright all knelt on the ground and looked at Lin Rui with respect. Rise. Looking at them, Lin Rui smiled and nodded. Any one of these people would be an expert if they went out. They stood up and didn't say anything. They just stood there quietly and looked at Lin Rui, waiting for his next instructions. Looking at them, Lin Rui smiled helplessly. All right, I'm no longer the sect master. I'll have to ask you to take care of my son in the future. However, remember, if he does anything wrong, feel free to discipline him. After all, the basic money here belongs to this little guy's elders. Yes, father is right. Please give me your guidance. Lin Yun didn't dare to refute Lin Li's words. Instead, he had to agree with him. Okay. Nodding, Lin Yun's last wish was fulfilled. There was no need for him to bring Lin Yun down here. There was still a troublesome matter waiting for him in the 9th province. Thinking about it, Lin Rui sighed and said, "Let's go." With that, Lin Rui turned around and rushed out of the hall. However, just as Lin Rui turned around, a voice filled with reluctance rang out. "Grandfather, I..." I don't want to be separated from you. I want to leave with you and pursue the truth of the great Tao. Oh. Hearing this, Lin Yun stopped in his tracks. He turned his head curiously. At this moment, a little girl was standing not far away, looking at him with a determined gaze. Huh, little Ling, you're still young and your cultivation isn't strong. When you're strong enough to protect yourself, grandfather will definitely take you away. However, it's not suitable for you now, so, stay at home and cultivate obediently. When you become the number one in the God world, I might consider it. Hearing Lin Li's words, Lin Ling paused for a moment, but then her words became firm again. Her voice was sonorous and forceful, as if she had decided to accept Lin Li's words. Alright, you said it. When the time comes, I'll definitely become the number one in the God world. When the time comes, you can't go back on your words. Okay. Grandfather definitely won't go back on his words. Of course, when Lin Ray said this, he still felt a little shameless. After all, when his granddaughter became the number one in the God world, he would have already reached the saints' world. Okay. Hearing Lin Ray's words, Lin Ling nodded heavily and hid this matter deep in her heart. However, Lin Ray didn't know that because of his words, Lin Ling worked very hard and finally became the number one in the God world in the shortest time possible. But it was also because of this. The sects in the God world had been bullied by her many times. Okay, let's go. Seeing that the matter had been resolved naturally, he looked at Lin Yun and the others again, then turned around and rushed back to the sect. Whoosh, his speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Lin Yun and the others' sight. The matter was resolved just like that, and Lin Ray once again embarked on his journey. Sigh. Let's go. Looking at his father and the others who had disappeared from his sight, Lin Yun sighed, his face was filled with disappointment. Yeah, let's go. I don't know when we'll meet again. Lin Ling nodded at the side. In silence, the father and son looked in the direction Lin Ray and the others left in a daze. The two of them didn't say anything, just looked at each other like that. Time passed little by little, and after an unknown amount of time, Lin Ling came back to her senses. With a determined gaze, she looked at her father and said, "Father, I plan to leave." Sigh. I knew that you wouldn't give up so easily. There was no surprise, only a sigh. How could he not know his daughter's thoughts? Yes, I want to catch up to grandfather's footsteps, I want to become a supreme existence, I want to stand at the peak of the Tao, I want to stand together with grandfather. Filled with determination, she said to him. However, hearing his daughter's words, Lin Yun's body trembled. He lowered his head to look at his daughter beside him, and in her, Lin Yun saw the shadow of his father. That kind of determined and courageous figure. He knew that he couldn't stop her. Alright, since you've decided, then do what you want to do. But Lin Yun seemed to have thought of something as he said, "Go and see your mother before you leave. After all, we don't know when you'll be back." Okay, I'll go now. Hearing this, Lin Ling was stunned. Then, she nodded in agreement, turned around, and rushed into the depths of the Xuanzong sect. Looking at his daughter's departing figure, Lin Yun sighed, his face filled with envy. How great would it be if I could be like you? Time passed little by little. At the entrance of vast Origin City in the northern part of the 9th Prefecture, a group of people majestically walked over from afar. They didn't walk very quickly, as if they were looking at the scenery, chatting and laughing as they walked. Husband, is this the northern part of the 9th Prefecture? At this moment, there were two women following behind the young man. The women's figures were covered by loose clothes. As for their faces, they were covered by a veil. However, what was exposed was extremely white like jade. Their skin was as white as ice and their bones were as white as jade. They gave people the feeling that they would fall in love at first sight. One look and one would know that they were beauties. At this moment, a woman in purple clothes asked the young man in the lead. Yes. That's right, this is Vast Origin City in the northern part. However, I've never been here before. Although I've been here before, it was for the purpose of cultivation, so. The young man shrugged as if he didn't know anything. Oh. In response, the woman didn't ask any more questions. Instead, she obediently kept quiet. Young master, I'll go and book a room for you first. When you arrive, everything will be ready. However, at this moment, the moment the woman in purple clothes stopped talking, a young man walked over from behind and said, "Okay. That's good too. In that case, Ming, you can go with Bai Qi. Be careful on the way and don't cause any trouble." At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than Lin Rei and the others who had left the Xuanzong sect. After several months of arduous travel, Lin Rei had finally led them to the 9th province. At the same time, this was also the first city they saw after arriving in the 9th province. Beside him were his 2 beautiful wives, Bing and Ing. After hearing Lin Rei's instructions, Ming walked out from the crowd and bowed to Lin Rei. Then, she left with Bai Qi and quickly walked toward Vast Origin City. "Let's go." Seeing the 2 people's figures gradually getting farther and farther away, Lin Rei lifted his foot and walked forward. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others who had followed behind him couldn't help but exclaim, "TSK TSK, the city in the 9th province is much more magnificent than the other 8 provinces of the Divine Realm. It's really, simply. That's right, this place, oh, a beauty." Suddenly, before Lin Yuro could finish her words, a voice filled with flotation sounded from the side. The voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. As a hierarch, Lin Li naturally heard it and was attracted by the voice. Among Lin Rei and the others, the person with the lowest cultivation was still a god emperor. Therefore, when they heard the voice, they all became interested and began to watch the show. "What did you say?" At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who was being flirted with, was stunned. She turned her head and saw an extremely handsome young man holding a folding fan in his hand and wearing luxurious clothes. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a young man from a wealthy family. However, when Lin Wanyu saw the greed and lust in the young man's deep affection, her expression suddenly changed. "Beauty, this young master is the son of Vast Origin City Lord, Fang Hun, Fang Xiaoyun. Furthermore, I am the personal disciple of the Rain Sect's elder Tian Lin. How about it? Why don't you follow this young master into Vast Origin City and find a restaurant? We can eat while discussing life philosophy. What do you think?" Hearing Fang Xiaoyun's words, everyone present, including Lin Rei, was stunned. Their expressions were filled with astonishment. Is he fucking courting death? Chapter 841. At this moment, everyone was looking at Fang Xiaoyun as though they were looking at an idiot. They had never thought that Lin Wanyu would be teased by someone like that. Naturally, the moment Fang Xiaoyun teased Lin Wanyu, everyone could already see the future of Fang Xiaoyun and the future of Vast Origin City. They could also see the end of his father, Fang Hun. Hee, looks like our little Yu is quite popular. At this moment, Lin Li couldn't help but say. Everyone stared in shock at Lin Li's words. Of course, Lin Wanyu heard it as well, and her face turned red with embarrassment. Of course, the only thing she felt toward Lin Li and Fang Xiaoyun, who had dared to flirt with her, was fury, boundless fury. Ever since she started cultivating, even though there were people who dared to tease her, in the end, those who dared to tease her could only happily walk on the road to the Yellow Springs. But ever since she entered the divine world, she had never heard of anyone who dared to tease her. That was because of her strength and the reputation of the Xuanzong sect. But now, at this moment, she actually heard someone teasing her. Furthermore, looking at Fang Xiaoyun's cultivation, he was merely a deity emperor. In the divine world, he was at most a lower middle-level existence. Lin Wanyu could not figure out who exactly gave him the guts to tease a middle-stage god emperor. Who, after calming herself down, Lin Wanyu ignored the gazes of the surrounding people. Instead, her gaze landed on Fang Xiaoyun. Looking at him coldly, she spoke. "You, are called Feng Shaoyun? What is your father's cultivation? Also, what kind of power is the rain sect you mentioned? And what is the cultivation of that so-called elder Tianlin you mentioned? One question after another was asked by Lin Wanyu. Although she was not afraid at all, she still wanted to know. She wanted to know who could raise such a despicable disciple. She wanted to see who it was that could relieve the hatred in her heart. Looks like little Yu is furious. She intends to teach everyone related to him a lesson. Meanwhile, Linley frowned, and then his brows relaxed as he spoke. Sigh. How pitiful. I hope that Elder Heavenly Qilin won't personally deal with him once he finds out that his last disciple has offended a god emperor. At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were speaking very softly. Only a few people could hear them. My father's cultivation is very strong. He's a godly lord and a city lord with countless subordinates. In this place, my father is the emperor. As long as my father speaks, no one dares to say no. As he spoke, Feng Xiaoyun's face was filled with pride. It was as if he was talking about himself, as if he was the king of this place. As for my master, Elder Tianlin, he is an outer court elder of the Rain Sect. His cultivation is at the late stage of the Divine Lord Realm, and he has countless disciples. As for the Rain Sect, it's one of the 7 great sects in the entire God Realm. Tell me, am I strong or not? I'm the young city lord of a city, and I'm also a disciple of the Rain Sect. If you follow me, I guarantee that you'll live a good life, and you'll be able to do whatever you want in the God Realm. As he spoke, Feng Shaoyun couldn't help but pat his chest and half open his eyes. In response, Lin Rei and the others looked at the silly Feng Shaoyun with a smile. Among them, Jia Yang was laughing so hard that he was swaying back and forth. The amused smile on his face was even more obvious. Rain Sect? Heh. Others might not know, but he was very clear. Back in the ancient corpse trove, several old ancestors of the Rain Sect were killed by Lin Rei, not to mention the Rain Sect. Of course, he would say this out loud. Since Lin Rei didn't say anything, why should he? Eat good food and drink spicy wine, heh. Hearing Feng Xiaoyun's words, Lin Wanyu's complexion became extremely ugly. Regarding this bastard in front of her, she wanted to kill him. No, make him beg for death. Thinking about this, Lin Wanyu turned her head and looked at Lin Rei. Her expression was filled with questions. Do as you see fit. You can do whatever you want. Understanding her meaning, Lin Rei shrugged and said indifferently. I understand. After getting Lin Rei's approval, Lin Wanyu was completely relaxed. After all, she had just arrived. Without Lin Rei's approval, she wouldn't dare to act recklessly, but now, it was different. With Lin Rei's approval, she would naturally take her revenge. However, when Feng Shaoyun, who was originally smiling, heard the conversation between Lin Rei and Lin Wanyu, he felt the atmosphere suddenly become heavy. His body couldn't help but tremble at this moment. This feeling made Feng Shaoyun very uncomfortable. It was as if a poisonous snake had locked him in place. It made his entire body uncomfortable. Feng Shaoyun, right? At this moment, Lin Wanyu moved. Looking at him, she walked step by step towards him. However, Feng Shaoyun didn't think about what would happen to him. At this moment, he only knew that there was a beauty in front of him and she was walking towards him. In his eyes, Lin Wanyu was walking towards him to throw herself into his arms. Therefore, Feng Shaoyun nodded and said without the slightest scruple, "Of course, I am Feng Shaoyun, your future husband. Come." Ha ha ha, arrogant laughter came from Feng Xiaoyun's mouth. At this moment, the entire place was filled with silence. Only Feng Xiaoyun's laughter could be heard. Very good, very good. Looking at Feng Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu was stunned. Then, she continued, ever since this young lady started on the path of cultivation, I have never seen someone who doesn't care about his life. You dare to tease this young lady. How many lives do you think you have? Divine Sovereign? Heh, is he very strong? Rain Sect, is he very strong? Her expression was filled with disdain as she looked at Feng Xiaoyun. Do you want to know what happened to the person who teased this young lady before? Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Feng Xiaoyun was stunned and subconsciously asked, what happened? At this moment, even the dumbest person would feel that something was wrong. Moreover, at this moment, a trace of danger rose in his heart. A voice rang in his mind. Run, quickly leave this place. Of course, Feng Xiaoyun only thought that this voice was a hallucination. After all, as the saying goes, if one dies under a peony flower, it is still romantic even if one becomes a ghost. Heh. Lin Wanyu sneered and stood in front of Feng Xiaoyun. She coldly said, those who tried to tease this young lady are all dead. Hiss, what? Hearing this, Feng Xiaoyun's heart trembled. At the same time, he finally knew what was wrong. However, it was already too late. Because, at this moment, a hand had already appeared in front of him. Pa! The sound of a slap rang out. After hearing this, the people who came and went were all stunned. F***ck, isn't this the son of City Lord Fang Hun? This beast is doing something outrageous again. Tisk, outrageous? I don't think so. Didn't you see that he was slapped just now? I feel that this time, Feng Xiaoyun seems to have kicked an iron plate, tsk. Yeah, look at this group of people, if they are not from sects, then they are from aristocratic families. I feel that this time, Feng Xiaoyun might have really provoked a powerful faction. At this moment, the people who came and went began to chat in their minds. They all knew Feng Xiaoyun. Feng Xiaoyun, they only had a few words for him. Beast, worse than a beast, why didn't the heavens take him away? Of course, Lin Rei and the others did not know these words in the minds of the passers-by. At this moment, Lin Rei was completely in a state of watching a show. You hit me? At this moment, Feng Xiaoyun recovered from his shock. A burning sensation came from his left cheek. At this moment, other than shock, he was endlessly stunned. He really did not expect that in front of his own house, he would be slapped in the face. Moreover, it was by the woman he liked. Hit you? Lin Wanyu looked at Feng Xiaoyun as if she was looking at an idiot. Do you think that hitting you can eliminate the hatred in this young lady's heart? Don't you think it's too cheap? What, you? Hearing this, Feng Xiaoyun's expression changed. Finally, he realized that something was wrong. You. What do you want? This is Vast Origin City, a place under the jurisdiction of the Rain Sect. You. Stuttering, he used the faction behind him to threaten Lin Wanyu. However, Feng Xiaoyun did not know that because of him, his entire family was on the path of destruction. Oh. Vast Origin City. How amazing. Looking at Feng Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu was suddenly shocked. But soon, her originally shocked expression turned into disdain and contempt. It was as if what he said was nothing. Crack, the sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out. Accompanying the sound was a melodious scream of pain. Plop. Feng Xiaoyun, who was originally standing, was now lying on the ground, holding his left leg. His face was contorted in pain. Because of the pain, his expression became sinister. Cold sweat instantly covered his face, and his complexion became extremely pale. Oh. Bastard, you. You stinking bitch, you actually, dry tongue. Hearing Feng Xiaoyun's curses, Lin Wanyu frowned. Immediately, she threw a hand seal into Feng Xiaoyun's mouth. Pfff. The instant Lin Wanyu's hand seal entered Feng Xiaoyun's mouth, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Accompanying the blood was a piece of flesh. If one looked carefully, one would be able to see that it was flesh. Moreover, it was a tongue. Feng Xiaoyun's head. Ugh. Ah, a groaning sound came from Feng Xiaoyun's mouth. However, at this moment, Feng Xiaoyun was no longer holding his left leg. Instead, he was holding his mouth with his hand. He looked at Lin Wanyu, at this beautiful but extremely cruel woman. He was afraid. He regretted it. If he had known that this would be the result, he would not have done this. Moreover, he realized that when Lin Wanyu attacked, he did not react at all. It was not that he did not want to, but that he did not see how Lin Wanyu attacked. What's going on? What's going on? Suddenly, a furious roar sounded. At this moment, just as Fang Xiaoyun was screaming in pain, a pair of armored guards came from afar. In response, Lin Rei frowned and his face darkened. It was as if this group of people had interrupted a good show. He was very unhappy. It's over, it's over. These are the guards of vast origin city. They are Fang Hun's private soldiers. Sigh, who said otherwise? Now that Fang Xiaoyun has become like this, those private soldiers will definitely not let this matter rest. Moreover, Fang Hun only has one son. They will definitely not let this matter rest. Sigh, these people are in danger. Oh. Private soldiers? Hearing the discussions around him, Linley's face was filled with a cold smile. Since they are private soldiers, then there's no need to keep them. This subordinate will be back soon. However, at this moment, when Tianyun heard Lin Rei's words, he understood tacitly. He immediately left the crowd and slowly walked towards the group of private soldiers. Woo-woo. At this moment, no one was happier than Fang Xiaoyun. When he heard the words of the private soldiers, he felt a sense of hope. In order to attract the attention of the private soldiers, Fang Xiaoyun ignored the pain of having his tongue cut off and began to whimper with all his might. On the other side, the private soldier who was walking towards Linley's group heard the strange noise and looked over. His gaze fell on Fang Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground with a mouth full of blood and a savage face. Immediately, he frowned, and a baleful aura erupted from his body. Are all of you seeking death? Even my young master dares to treat you in such a manner. You all. Enough, come at me together. If I kill all of you, I'll have to report back to my superiors. Just when the leader of the private soldiers was halfway through speaking, Tianyun arrived and stood in front of them with a look of disdain. You are with that group as well? The leader of the private soldiers asked with a frown. Sigh. Then, why do you all have to talk so much nonsense before attacking? Looking at them, Tianyun sighed and shook his head. Then, his expression froze, and a sharp aura burst out. I gave you all a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Since that's the case, then, this sovereign will be the first to attack. What? Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was stunned. However, when he looked over, there was still a figure in front of him. Not good. Be on guard. At this moment, he knew that this person's cultivation was extremely high. As for how high, he didn't know. However, he knew that this person's cultivation was higher than his. However, the moment he said that, miserable cries came from behind him. Following the miserable cries were the sounds of people falling down. Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was shocked and quickly turned around. However, what he saw was something he would never forget for the rest of his life. At this moment, the 20 or so guards who came with him were no longer like before. They were all in high spirits. At this moment, they were all lying on the ground. Bright red blood had already corroded the ground. You, who exactly are you? Looking at Tianyun, who was standing in the middle of the corpses, the leader of the private soldiers asked. At this moment, he knew that he had lost this time. You don't need to know. All you need to know is that your beloved city lord will be reunited with you very soon. After saying that, without waiting for the leader of the private soldiers to respond, Jinyun's figure flashed past them and walked toward Lin Rei. Pft! Pft! A line of blood appeared on the throat of the leader of the private soldiers. In an instant, a gush of hot blood spurted out like a fountain. This. How could this be? Feeling the strange sensation in his throat, the leader raised his hand subconsciously and wiped his throat. Then, he placed his hand in front of his eyes. When he saw the bright red blood, his vision blurred. Then, everything turned black and his body fell backward. Just like that, a group of elites in vast origin city was killed in a few breaths. Chapter 842. Woo-woo. Originally, when he saw the private soldier, a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. However, when he saw the private soldier being killed in an instant, he completely despaired. Others might not know, but he knew it very well. Although they were all guards, they were all existences in the divine ancestor realm. Thus, to be able to kill them in an instant, let alone a divine ancestor realm expert, even his father, Fang Hun, who was a lord god, would not be able to do so. At this moment, he finally knew what kind of people he had offended. They were people he couldn't afford to offend. His family couldn't afford to offend. Even the Rain Sect couldn't afford to offend them. Looking at the private soldier's corpse lying in a pool of blood, Fang Xiaoyun forgot about the pain. He smiled bitterly and collapsed on the ground powerlessly. His face was filled with endless regret. He hated himself for being so useless. He hated himself for being so insensible. He hated his mistake for harming the entire Fang clan. He hated everything he had done. Now that he thought about it, he realized how much of a beast he was. How insensible he was. How disgusting he was. However, no matter how much he regretted it, it was too late. He couldn't hold on to anything. What happened yesterday couldn't be left behind. Today, there were too many things to worry about. Everything he had done in the past, everything he had done would be paid for here today. This was his retribution. However, in the end, he had implicated the entire Fang clan. He felt extremely guilty. All right, I won't kill you now. Since you said that your father is powerful, I'll let you know that your so-called powerful father is nothing more than an ant in my eyes. Looking at Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu said with disdain, as for your family, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Ha. Lying on the ground, listening to the voice of the Grim Reaper, he looked at Lin Wanyu with a relieved smile. He no longer resisted, he no longer cried out in pain. It was as if he had already gotten used to the pain. It was as if he had gotten used to it. Since you've decided, let's go to the Fang clan together. We'll see how this Fang Hun managed to raise such a rebellious son. At this moment, looking at Lin Wanyu, Lin Rei walked out with a smile. Looking at him, Lin Rei patted his shoulder and said, I understand, master. After obtaining Lin Rei's permission, Lin Wanyu naturally had to go through with it. After all, the anger in her heart had yet to be eliminated. Let's go. As he spoke, he glanced at the nearby Gu Feng. Linley instructed, take young Master Fang to Vast Origin City. Let's see what sort of person the city governor of Vast Origin City, Fang Hun, is, for him to actually allow his son to wreak havoc. Yes, this subordinate. Hearing Linley's orders, Gu Feng, who had been standing in the middle of the crowd and hadn't said a word, bowed and led himself to Fang Xiaoyun, who was covered in blood and lying on the ground. Remember, if there's in your next life, if there is a next life, of the next life, of the next life, of the next life, of the next of your life, remember, of the Lin. And just like a balloon, spirit chi transformed into a string. One end was grabbed by Gu Feng, and the other end was pulled above the energy in the air. Seeing Gu Feng's actions, Lin Rei smiled and said, let's go. At this moment, Lin Rei and the others moved. They began to walk toward the city gates. As for Lin Wanyu and the others, none of them dared to make a sound. They followed Lin Rei into the city. It seems that the Fang clan is finished this time. This time, the scourge Fang Xiaoyun is finally eliminated. Those who were harmed by him will finally be able to live a peaceful life. That's right. Fang Xiaoyun has been eliminated, but there's still Fang Xiaoyun's mother, Mrs. Han. Although on the surface, it seems that City Lord Fang Hun is backing her, to be honest, I'm certain that Mrs. Han is behind all of this. That's right. Every time City Lord Fang Hun inspects the city, those who were harmed by Feng Shaoyun are all imprisoned. As a result, after so many years, Vast Origin City has become like this. I'm certain that the main culprit is Mrs. Han. Sigh. At this point, everyone couldn't help but sigh. How they hoped that Vast Origin City would return to its previous state after this incident. Although it would still be somewhat chaotic, at the very least, there wouldn't be another incident like Feng Shaoyun's. Vast Origin City. In the central region of the city, there was an extremely majestic house that occupied an area of over 1,000 feet. One couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. The city lord's mansion was the name of this majestic house. At this moment, in the deepest part of the mansion, in a simple and unadorned room, a middle-aged man was sitting cross-legged on a bed. His brows were tightly knitted, and his face was filled with doubt. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was also extremely chaotic. What's going on? Why am I having this feeling at this time? This shouldn't be. Sensing the hope coming from his surroundings and his body, the man's heart was filled with doubt. Report, suddenly, a loud shout came from outside the door. The shout was so loud that the middle-aged man, who was originally in a bad mood, immediately stopped cultivating. His brows were tightly knitted, but his expression was extremely gentle. Moreover, his appearance was extremely inconsistent with the gentleness in his expression. It was as if he had the appearance of a man and the expression of a woman. He raised his head and looked outside the door. At this moment, the middle-aged man had already gotten down from the bed. Moreover, he walked up to the door and extended his hand to open it. What's so urgent? What kind of scandal is this to make you lose your manners? At this moment, the instant the door opened, the face of the person outside was revealed. At this moment, a young man was standing at the door. His body was bowed, and he didn't dare to raise his head. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his body was trembling violently. It was as if something that terrified him had happened. Upon hearing the middle-aged man's voice, the young man's trembling body calmed down a lot. Then, he raised his head and stuttered, "See, City Lord, this is bad." "Why, young City Lord?" "Young City Lord, MN? What happened to him? Isn't he cultivating in the Rain Sect? What happened?" Hearing his subordinate's report, the middle-aged man started to frown. His heart trembled. He felt that what the young man wanted to say was related to his son. At this moment, the middle-aged man was none other than Vast Origin City Lord, Feng Shaoyun's father, and Madame Han's husband, Feng Hun. Looking at his subordinate, Feng Hun asked, "Speak, what happened to my son?" At this moment, Feng Hun, who didn't know what was going on, had no idea that his son was already half dead. Young City Lord, he was beaten by someone. His left hand and left leg were broken. Furthermore, what? Feng Hun was greatly alarmed. He had wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation. Thus, he felt extremely guilty toward Feng Shaoyun. In the end, he even personally went to the Rain Sect to plead for leniency so that Feng Shaoyun could continue to cultivate in the Rain Sect. Never did he expect that his subordinate would actually tell him that his son had an arm and a leg broken by someone. Of course, although he was astonished, Feng Hun did not lose his rationality. Instead, he continued to question the young man. "What else did you say? Tell me everything." Sigh. Hearing that, the young man nodded. At the city gate tower, the guards saw that young master's arms and legs were broken. Thus, they immediately went up to question the young master and ordered him to release the young master. However, a person suddenly appeared. That person faced over 20 guards by himself. That person's expression changed as if Mount Tai was about to collapse. In merely a few breaths' time, over 20 of our brothers were instantly killed. We didn't even have the slightest opportunity to fight back. SSSS, hearing those words, Feng Hun's expression changed. He was unable to restrain himself from sucking in a mouthful of cold air. He knew his subordinates very well. They were all divine ancestor realm cultivators. Even he would not be able to instantly kill experts like them. Chu Fei. Chu Fei's cultivation was stronger than his. He was a martial emperor. Only a martial emperor would possess such strength. Go and prepare some tea and some fruit platters. Bring them to the main hall. Soon, guests will arrive in the mansion. At that moment, Fang Han had an ugly expression on his face. His body started to tremble slightly. Yes, this subordinate understands. When Fang Han raised his head and saw the city lord trembling, he knew that this matter was truly serious. City Lord Fang is truly a sensible person. You even prepared tea when you knew that this venerated one and the others would be coming. Suddenly, at the instant Fang Han gave the order, a man's voice sounded from afar. They're here. Hearing that voice, Fang Han sighed in his heart. Then, he soared into the sky and looked toward the direction of the city gate. At that moment, a group of people was rapidly flying toward them. With a single glance, Fang Han knew that they were the group of people that his subordinate had reported to him earlier. Xiaoyun. After Fang Han's gaze swept past the group of people, his gaze finally landed on Fang Xiaoyun, who was in Gu Feng's hand. His entire body was drenched in blood. Seeing his son in such a state, Fang Han's body trembled. He staggered and nearly fell from the sky. This lord is the city lord of vast origin city, Fang Han. Seniors, would it be possible for you all to have a seat in the main hall? Looking at Lin Li and the others, Fang Han bowed in an extremely respectful manner. Emin? This person, is he really this little fellow's father? Seeing that Fang Han was so polite and courteous, without any arrogance at all, Lin Li was stunned. It was not only Lin Rei. Even Ying, Bing Dong, and the others were the same. They had seen Fang Xiaoyun before. However, when they saw Fang Han, they did not expect that arrogant, despotic, and profligate bastard to be the child of this person before them. After regaining his senses, Lin Rei looked at Fang Han and said, Haha. Since City Lord Fang is like this, then this venerated one and the others will be troubling you. Although one could not tell whether a person was good or bad from the surface, one could tell from the person's eyes. Lin Rei could only see heartache, respect, and doubt in Fang Han's eyes. In response, Lin Rei began to reconsider his previous decision. Should he destroy this place? Should he kill Fang Han? This was the first time Lin Rei had such a thought. Although Lin Rei did not consider himself a good person, at the very least, he would not be a reluctant person who would persecute people for no reason. After hearing Lin Rei and the others' agreement, Fang Han smiled and quickly said, You're too kind. It's my honor to have Senior here. There's no need to say that I'm imposing on you. Senior, this way please. Emin, all right. After saying that, Fang Han led the way to the main hall. They were not far away from the main hall. At this moment, tea and fruit platters were already placed in the main hall. Fang Han, who had checked the main hall, heaved a sigh of relief. He carefully walked to the entrance of the main hall. After standing still, he made an inviting gesture to Lin Rei and the others. Senior, this way please. Haha. Seeing Fang Han act so courteously, Lin Li chuckled, then led them into the guest hall. The main hall was very big. Lin Rei and the others could sit down, but it was not crowded. Moreover, there were still empty seats. Lin Rei and the others sat down. As for Fang Xiaoyun, he was released from the energy barrier by Gu Feng. Plop. The energy barrier was released. Fang Xiaoyun fell to the ground like a dead dog. His entire body was in pain and he was powerless. He laid on the ground without moving, except for his eyes. At this moment, Fang Han walked in and looked at his son. His heart ached. However, he did not go forward. Instead, he cupped his fist and looked at Lin Rei. He asked, Senior, how did my good-for-nothing son offend you? Humph, your son is so shameless. I just arrived at the entrance of the city and he immediately insulted me. Moreover, he relied on the pressure of you, the city lord, and that Rain Sect's elder Tian Lin to force me to submit. Tell me, does Emperor need to show mercy to such a person? At this moment, before Lin Rei could say anything, Lin Wanyu opened her mouth and said angrily. Of course, Lin Wanyu knew that this matter was not as simple as she thought. After all, if Fang Hun was really that kind of person who bullied others, how could he be so courteous right now? If it was someone else, they would have already ordered people to surround this place and kill them. What? Take liberties, take liberties. Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Fang Hun was shocked. Emperor. Emperor, other than god emperors, who would dare to call themselves that? However, what shocked Fang Hun even more was that his son actually dared to do such a shameless thing. Even if Lin Wanyu was not a god emperor, taking liberties with a young lady was already very excessive. Facing this, Fang Hun's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was usually very important to his son, he could not afford to lose face like this. As the lord of a city, his son actually dared to do such a thing. How was he supposed to face himself? Bastard, you unfilial son, your father is usually very important to you. What have you done? How did your mother teach you? After saying that, he raised his head and ordered the guards at the entrance, go, call the madam out. Only call her. As for what happened here, do not speak of it. Today, I want to see exactly how his mother teaches her son. Do you understand? Chapter 843. Seeing Fang Hun like this, everyone knew that perhaps what Fang Xiaoyun did had nothing to do with them. Looking at him, Lin Rei couldn't help but pout. He picked up the teacup on the table and began to taste the tea. As a cultivator, Fang Hun might be very determined, but as a father, there was no doubt that he was a failure. Of course, Lin Rei and the others couldn't ask for leave. At this moment, they just wanted to see what Fang Hun would do next. The scene fell into silence, and the atmosphere was filled with awkwardness and seriousness. Especially Fang Hun. He looked at Lin Li and the others, and then looked at the disheartened expression on the ground. For a moment, he did not know what to do. Report, father is here. Suddenly, a voice sounded. In the hall, other than Lin Rei, everyone's eyes were focused on the entrance of the hall. Everyone wanted to see who the Madame Fang Hun was talking about was. However, at this moment, a silhouette dressed in luxurious clothes slowly walked to the entrance of the hall. The silhouette walked into the crowd's line of sight. Master, when did you come out of seclusion? Why didn't you inform me in advance so that I could greet you in advance? A voice full of awkwardness and coquettishness came from the noble lady at the door. At this moment, the middle-aged woman came into view. Regardless of whether she was a beauty or not, just by looking at the jewelry on her body, everyone knew that this woman was a disaster. She twisted her body and said as she came to Fang Hun's side. She reached out to pull Fang Hun, but who knew that the moment the woman's hand was about to touch Fang Hun's figure flashed and cleverly dodged the madam's action. Looking at the dodging Fang Hun, the madam's hand stopped in midair. Her breathing suddenly became quiet. The madam originally had a smile on her face. At this moment, her face was gloomy, and a trace of gloominess flashed across her face. Perhaps in the eyes of others, he hid his expression very well. However, in Lin Rei's divine sense, there was nowhere to hide. It could even be said that it was exposed without a doubt. Moreover, just a moment ago, when Lin Rei extended his divine sense, he suddenly discovered something very interesting. Fang Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground, had a completely different bloodline from Fang Hun. The two bloodlines did not seem to resonate with each other. Sensing this, the previously expressionless Lin Li revealed a hint of an amused smile. Generally speaking, if it was his own son, their bloodlines should resonate with each other, but at this moment, Fang Xiaoyun did not have this feeling at all. This meant that this Fang Xiaoyun might not be Fang Hun's biological son. Coupled with the change in the woman's expression, Lin Rei suddenly thought of something interesting. You always tell me how Xiaoyun usually behaves. Did he use his status as the city lord's young city lord to commit crimes outside? Did he bully others? What are you talking about? At this moment, hearing her husband's words, the madam's expression suddenly changed, and her body couldn't help but tremble. No? Are you sure? Fang Hun clearly saw the change in the madam's expression, and her expression suddenly changed. Fang Hun's heart thumped, and a bad premonition appeared in his mind. He knew that what Fang Hun said might be true, or even more. Thinking of this, Fang Hun's gaze became sharp, and he took a step closer to the madam. He stared into her eyes, and an invisible pressure was emitted, and he asked again. Xiao Yun. Seeing her husband step closer, the madam couldn't help but take a step back, and her gaze became evasive. However, as she looked away, suddenly, she saw Fang Xiaoyun lying not far away, covered in blood. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she cried out in shock. With a plop, she ran past Fang Hun, directly to Fang Xiaoyun's side, and without caring about her image, she directly knelt down beside him and reached out her hand. Tears flowed from her eyes, and her face was extremely pale, and filled with hatred. How could this be? Who was it? Who was it that broke my son's arm and leg? Who cut off my son's tongue? Who was it that was so cruel, so vicious? A furious roar came from the madam's mouth, and her voice was filled with coldness. In response to the madam's words, Fang Hun's body trembled, and the anticipation on his face completely disappeared. Although his madam was usually a bit troublesome and liked to act spoiled, this was the first time he had seen her in such a state. At the same time, he knew that his son had become like this because of her dereliction of duty as a mother. Perhaps she even knew about the evildoers outside. However, she didn't try to dissuade him, nor did she tell him. She even used her status as the city lord to put pressure on the outside world. Thinking of this, Fang Hun's body trembled, and he suddenly took a step back. His body went limp, and he sat down on the ground, a dazed expression on his face. TSK. At this time, Lin Rei, who hadn't said anything, saw this scene. He knew that he might have wrongly blamed Fang Hun, and felt a bit guilty. Looking at the madam and Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Just like what you said. Indeed, like mother, like son. How can such a mother teach a good thing?" At this moment, the madam, who was kneeling on the ground, holding her son in pain and speaking viciously from time to time, suddenly raised her head and looked in the direction of the voice. "What do you mean? My son, you didn't do this to him, did you?" The madam seemed to have realized something, and she suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Rei. "That's right. I did do this to your son." He didn't refuse, and he didn't want to lie, because he didn't need to. Furthermore, in order to clear his heart of guilt, he wanted to give Fang Hun some pointers. You bastard." Hearing the other party's confirmation, she subconsciously glanced at her son. Then, she turned her head and looked at her husband with a vicious tone. She said, "Husband, you should say something fair. The person who hurt our son is right here. Hurry up and refine and suppress him. Let Queen extract his soul. Peel his skin and pull out his tendons. Let him suffer all kinds of torture. Let Queen put his soul into the 9 underworlds water. Let him suffer day and night in the 9 underworlds water. Let him suffer for eternity as compensation for our son." After roaring angrily at Fang Hun, Wu Yan didn't say anything else. Instead, he smiled cruelly and looked at Lin Rei and the others, as if waiting for Fang Hun to make a move. However, everything didn't go as the madam expected. After waiting for a long time, her husband didn't make a move. For a moment, she couldn't help but be stunned. Then, with a puzzled expression, she turned to look at her husband. Why don't you make a move?" She looked at her husband who was still sitting on the ground with a dazed expression. Looking at her husband who was still unmoved, the madam was stunned. Her cold smile suddenly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, it was replaced by a cruel smile. She said to the guards outside the door, "Fine. Since you don't want to do it, then let me end these people's lives as compensation for our son." "Where are the guards outside the door?" As the madam of the city lord, I order you to restrain this group of people. Yes, we obey. Hearing the madam's order, the guards outside the door immediately rushed into the hall, intending to make a move. Back down. Suddenly, just as they were about to rush into the hall, Fang Han, who was sitting on the ground, suddenly shouted angrily, "It is true that you are the guards of the city lord's residence, but your job is to protect the city. Get out. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter this place. Do you understand?" Hearing those words, the guards looked at the madam, then looked at Fang Han. Then, they all obeyed Fang Han's order and left. Seeing how Fang Han handled things, the madam's complexion alternated between green and red. Her face was filled with unsightly and resentment. She did not expect that her husband would actually stop her from taking revenge. She looked at him with disbelief, her heart was filled with confusion and anger. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Having lost her chance, the madam raised her head and laughed loudly. Her face was filled with depression, helplessness and sorrow. Only today did he find out that his son and his wife were completely different from what he had imagined. I never expected that my reputation would be ruined by the two of you. Originally, I thought that my son would be able to receive good training in the Rain Sect. But who would have thought, after saying that, Fang Han suddenly stood up and looked at her with a sneer. Do you know that your son was crippled because of teasing and causing trouble? No matter what happened to your son, he is still your son. Your own son was bullied by others, yet you don't care about it at all. Instead, you're questioning me. Is he really Fang Han's son? I don't think so. At this moment, Lin Rei looked at the madam and said. What? Lin Rei's words caused everyone to look at Lin Rei. Of course, the madam who had saved the madam immediately looked away after hearing his words. It was as if something had stepped on her tail. What? What do you mean? At this moment, Fang Han spoke. At this moment, his tone was very abnormal. He was not shouting angrily. Instead, he was very calm. He was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. Looking at Fang Han, Lin Li glanced at the others. Smiling, he said, "TSK, actually, it's nothing much. I just accidentally discovered that this so-called son of yours doesn't resonate with your bloodline at all. There's no feeling of him resonating at all. Normally, if it's your biological son, it shouldn't be like this. So, one thing is very clear about this matter. Fang Xiaoyun is not your son." After saying that, Lin Rei looked at the madam with interest and smiled. Perhaps your wife knows about this matter. Shua, everyone's eyes all looked at the madam. At this moment, everyone looked at Fang Han with a similar gaze. At the same time, some people looked at Fang Han with sympathy. Fang Han, everyone felt deep sympathy for him. If this matter was true, then Fang Han's green hat was really a professional. Not only did he wear a green hat, but he also helped her raise the child. TSK. Thinking about it, this matter really made people have the urge to vomit blood. Of course, if this matter happened to the crowd, they probably wouldn't be as calm as Fang Han. No. Blood relationship. Looking at the madam, Fang Han's face showed a trace of absent-mindedness. He even muttered to himself what Lin Rei said. No. It's not like that. No, husband, you don't believe him. He's just afraid of your revenge. Don't believe that Xiao Yun is really your son. Seeing her husband so absent-minded and pale, the madam's heart thumped violently. Fear emerged from the bottom of her heart. As Fang Han's wife, she knew very well that if it was any other matter, perhaps this matter would be very easy to deal with. However, there was one thing about Fang Han, and that was that he especially hated betrayal. If this matter was confirmed, it would be equivalent to her betrayal. What would he do? What would she do? Revenge? Do you think that a god emperor cultivator would be afraid of my revenge after knowing that he's a divine sovereign? After regaining his senses, he looked at the madam and sneered. Just a moment ago, when he heard Lin Rei's words, he personally sensed it. However, at this moment, he finally proved that Lin Rei was right. That was because he didn't feel the slightest bit of resonance between their bloodlines from Feng Xiaoyun's body. What? God? God Emperor? How is this possible? How could he be a God Emperor? This. At this moment, the madam was truly afraid. Originally, she thought that the other party wasn't very strong and could still shirk responsibility. However, the other party was actually a God Emperor. This was completely unexpected. At this moment, she knew that the matter might have been exposed. What should she do? Sigh. I didn't expect that I, Fang Han, would be troubled by this matter one day. Looking at the madam, Fang Han's heart was filled with pain. He truly didn't expect that his wife would actually make him a cuckold. Furthermore, what made him even angrier was that the son that he had painstakingly raised had actually become someone else's son. No matter how strong Fang Han's heart was, he still couldn't endure such a blow in the end. Gu Feng, go. Bring them out. While you're at it, search the entire city lord's mansion. Find someone whose bloodline resonates with Feng Xiaoyun's. If you find them, capture them as well. At this moment, seeing the struggle and hesitation in Fang Han's eyes, Lin Rei was stunned for a moment. After a sigh, he said to Gu Feng. Yes, this subordinate obeys. After receiving the order, Gu Feng appeared beside the madam and Fang Han in a flash. Then, he brought them with him and instantly disappeared from the main hall. Seeing Lin Rei's actions, Fang Han's expression was filled with confusion. He didn't understand why Lin Rei was acting like this. This sovereign admires you. Seeing the confusion in Fang Han's eyes, Lin Rei smiled. Then, he said, this sovereign admires your character very much. Furthermore, your cultivation level isn't low either. If you submit to this sovereign can help you reach a higher level. You can even break through a realm that you can't even imagine. What do you think? You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.